Can you guys hear me? And can you guys see me? I'm gonna be looking to chat a little bit, so I'm setting up things. I'm sorry for the inconvenience of not understanding how these things work, but we're gonna figure it out. And okay, I can see actually the chat, and I can just put it live here. Alright, we have Arc and Spells, we have Run to Your Fears. Hey guys, nice to see you. Alright, I'm gonna start and we're gonna see how it goes. Actually, let me show my big face. The sun will be better when I bring that here. Oh yeah. Actually, I hear the echo. There's a 1 second delay. I'm sorry about that. All right. That is interesting. Okay, great. Well, welcome to the first ever live feed streaming. If you ever want to see me play Minecraft, just let me know. But I'm not planning to do that. However, I am planning to make this thing a more regular thing, because one of the things that has been kind of bothering me a little bit is I've definitely been pretty busy with work in the past, I guess the past 39 years, but but more to the point, I've been pretty busy with work, and it's been difficult to kind of keep up with the race I've been doing and then letting you know how it went. So I felt that a live stream would be a great way to connect a little bit, like how do I feel right after the race, and without all the fuss and everything about the movie itself. So of course I'm still gonna make beautiful movies with farts and burping, but coming up after a race like that, I think I just want to potentially every Monday or Tuesday after a race kind of go back to it directly, like you'll follow my journey along when I'm creating a movie, which is looking back at the footage and being like, oh wow, like that was a bitch. I shouldn't say that on YouTube, right? But that's all the point. And specifically for Cocodona, I think it's such a cool race, but it's getting so popular right now that if you want to do it next year, you probably have to sign up in kind of a week from now. And maybe you want to know how actually that was and if it's a good idea for you. So we're here and we're gonna do that. Ooh, I am playing with my chat so that I can see you guys. All right, so let's go. And the schedule today, and I'm sure we're gonna kind of revise that a little bit as we come along and do more of these kind of episodes a little bit. It's a little bit of the extension of what I used to be, which was my vlog, which I was, hey, what was up in the last 2 weeks. We can talk about anything or everything, but this time you can actually ask question live and I'm gonna answer. And by the way, if you have a question and I don't answer it, just ask it again, and maybe I didn't see it. I'm very happy to answer anything. As you know, I'm very transparent about absolutely everything. So if I don't answer something, it's because I didn't see it and I will want to answer it. So let's acknowledge the nice folks that are on the live stream right now and that I can see. And if you're there and I don't list their name, maybe you should say hi at least so I can see your name. So we have Arc and Spells, who's always around. So really nice to see you. Run to Your Fears, Crushing Trails, Drinking Ales. Oh, hey, dude, how you doing, man? I hope you're back home, but we met actually at the at Cocodona this year, and his runner, Tony, was doing great. Also, he was hanging out with Melsa, and Melsa is absolutely awesome. I don't know if Melsa is here. We have C Tally, Run to Your Fear, All Good Perfect, Minecraft. Oh, okay, Minecraft, okay, I'm gonna do Minecraft maybe. Kim Hall, of course, we met at the beginning of Cocodona. We're at the sign-in or registration. Andrew, sub 100 hours, that was badass, and we'll definitely talk about that today because I see a lot of people running at the finish line when the camera is on, but by the way, I run even when the camera is not on, and I absolutely did that for this one. V Vega, did you already show us this year's buckle? Oh, I did not see. No. Anyway, I'm gonna center that a little bit. All right, this is this year's buckle. Oh, let's remove this one. Bloop. See how tech savvy I am? So this is this year's buckle, which I think is exactly the same as last year. Cool buckle, of course, and it's pretty heavy, by the way. So it feels pretty good. It feels very legit. And if I wish I could, oh yeah, I can actually move the camera. So right now I have like movies, as I said, that I'm kind of planning to do soon. And these are all of the buckles that are like on the, I don't know, on timeout basically. That I haven't had time to do much about it, except the frog one. And I guess Badger Mountain is done now, where I have to show you guys what the adventure was. Oh, actually, I see that now. If the ads are annoying, please let me know, because I'm going to change the setting. I'm just really not aware or used to these one, especially for live stream. But I get annoyed by ads myself. So if you get annoyed by it, please let me know. I will try to do something about it, because the point is always, you know, to connect with you guys, is not to put some fucking ads. Even though we don't really have a choice to have a little bit. All right, let's go down the list. Oh boy, you guys are here in number. I really appreciate that. So we have Ian, hey, no elbow issue. No, Johanna Rodriguez, I did not have elbow issues, but we'll talk about it. I had wrist issues. And even though I make a lot of sexuals, it was not from, it was from my poles again, probably. So elbows and wrists, by the way, this is so painful. We've really got to talk about that. It doesn't look so bad, but oh my God, this is probably number 1 pain right now, or number 2 pain. We have Wank, sorry. Pacer Travel, hey, Jeff Ayusa, which helped me for this race. He filmed me at Fort Tuttle, and his friend, well, my friend too, Greg, helped me at 7 miles. I was not pleasant during these 7 miles, so thank you. C. Tally, Nicole, Bar, Christine, hey, good job on your 125. Josh, Mike, Brett, Melissa. I cannot see the picture if it's Melissa, but assuming it's Melissa, nice to see you again. Bala, Submarian. My name is Greg. Bar, I don't know if you are the Greg in question who's an ex-ranger. If it is you, thank you, dude. We're going to talk about that. If it is not you, nice to see you, Greg. And Mary, run your fear. Keith, hey, Simon. Keith and Gwen, yes, absolutely. That is so cool that you guys are here, actually. Yeah, it's helpful, actually. Yeah, if you're using the same account for 2 people to let me know who you are, it's really cool. Obviously, I remember the name, so I know who you are. And we'll get going now. I see already a question from Arcane, but we'll get going. Favorite section, we have great video. Jeff says he has a great video of Wildcat. I don't think you do, or it depends on how you define what's a good video of Wildcat. And by the way, I know you love my face. Both my mom and my wife say I'm very gorgeous, but actually I have even better than that for you. I have a bajillion footage that I can run in the background while we're chatting a little bit. I'm gonna pick another one than that though, and so at least you get something nice to see while I'm chatting. And it's gonna be raw footage, by the way, so it won't all be good, but it will all be very real. And I'm gonna flip through so that it doesn't get too boring. All right, let's just change the source here. Shoop. Nope, not this one. Share screen. Yep. 189. There you go. And we're just gonna play it in the background. I should have started that from the start. There's probably like 8 hours of footage, so don't worry, I'm not gonna bore you to death with that, but at least you have something a little bit more interesting to go. So let's talk about Cocodona. If you are stop playing, play for me. All right, let's talk about Cocodona. Cocodona is such a great race, and it's really becoming the big event in the US when it comes to longer distance, when it comes to the 200 miler. Where is it not playing? Just play. All right, there you go. Oh, I know why, actually. Yes, it's becoming the really cool event, the get-together event. And the thing I would compare it to, and for me that felt so good, and I hope you will notice that that's kind of the thematic that we'll be running, is that it's really becoming the get-together event of, I mean, Jeff Beltier was there, and you had like Wes Blade, and you had Andrew Glaze, and you had Courtney, and like all of the cool people that you really want to meet are there racing. So it's just great to be there, and not just to race it itself. I mean, we don't always want to run 250 miles, but also you can do smaller distance, you can volunteer, you can be around supporting other people. And it's just becoming this thing where the community really comes together to celebrate something that is absolutely crazy, absolutely amazing, and it's these folks going for crazy distances. But you don't have to do that necessarily, even though that's kind of a cool thing to do. You can also just be around, help, and 1 year maybe it's going to be you, and then the next year you're just helping people around. All right, it's finally working, huh? All right, there you go. You know, I'm gonna need practice to read the stream at the same time as I just talk. So you're gonna have to be patient with me. Yeah. So it all starts, of course. You come in, and actually, I don't have footage that I'm gonna show there, but we have the the kind of check-in, which is the day before, and we had this stupid storm that kind of happened at the same time. So we had to we had to rush it, and all of the drop bags were outside. So me and Nora, we were sleeping in the car, and we saw that it was starting to be pretty bad. So we decided, you know what, we're gonna give our drop bag the morning off so it wouldn't get wet. So hopefully people kind of realized that, or they had plastic bag. But that's definitely a tip if you're gonna go for a long race and you give drop bags. Make sure it's waterproof, because sometimes they're just going to leave it in the rain. And usually when that happens, that's actually when you want to have dry socks, dry shoes, dry something. And then if your drop bag is wet, it's kind of sucky a little bit. But for us, we were able to think about it. So it rained, huge storm. And I were the afternoon, and then the morning came, and then like the bags were out wet a little bit. Anyway, we got started, and I'm really trying to figure that stupid one out. I'm not supposed to curse. That's gonna be tough. Share, see more. There we go. And even from the start, like I was feeling, as you know, last weekend, well, now it's 2 weeks ago, I was racing Canyon 100 miles. So I kind of came in and I was like sleepy a little bit. I was really worried about it. By the way, I started right next to West Plate, which hopefully you can see on this footage, right? Oh no, you cannot see it. Let me figure that out. Screen share. There you go. West Plate right next to me. How cool is that? I mean, if you're racing a race like that, like you gotta play it cool, you know, like you can't fanboy too much. But even for me, it's really, really tough when you have someone like Courtney lining up. I was like, oh my god, it's Courtney. I'm trying to play it cool, but obviously if you want to go talk to me, absolutely do it. I absolutely love the interaction. That's a big reason why I race myself. That's a big reason why I race like that is amazing. It's because of the people, and I know that we all fanboy or fangirl about some people. For me, guys like West Plate, I mean, he's the king of 200 for me. Of course, he's not going to win the race, but he's just doing so many of them that he's absolutely an inspiration. And also as a creator myself, as a YouTube creator, I mean, West Plate is a guy that has a successful platform, and I think his message and his style kind of match with me. I probably make more fart jokes than he does, but he's very one-man band, and it's very authentic. Like what he shows and the tips he's giving are really down to earth, and that's something I very much appreciate with his own stuff in general. So that's always been someone I was looking up for when I was making my channel, and he's inspired me a lot. Oops. All right. And all right, let me just catch up with the chat for a little bit. Live stream is good stream. And as I mentioned, if at some point like I have there's question that I'm not answering, please don't hesitate to just ask again, because there's a little bit of that going on. But yeah, I'm gonna go to the race recap, and I see some of the question like what was the most interesting segment, how was Mingus, and what are the different distances or the different race going on, and how this is. I'm definitely gonna address that at some point. But of course, we're starting down in Black Canyon City, and usually when you start, it's the morning. Oh, this one is dying, right? It's the morning, and then it's not super hot, but it's gonna get so hot when you leave Cocodona at the beginning. What you're really dreading is the next 30 or 40 miles, which are mostly down in the desert, and you're gonna go up and down, up and down, up and down, and overall a gain of like 10,000 feet in 25 miles for one segment where you don't have so much water. So it's very concerning. And actually last year when I did, it was tough. Like you getting to Lane Mountain was actually kind of horrible. Like it really sucked because it never stops, it never ends, and it's just so hot. So you have to carry a lot of water, and because you're carrying a lot of water, you don't want to carry too much other stuff, which is not how I did myself. I decided that I was a little bit worried about having enough layer for this year, especially that they were forecasting it to be pretty cold. I just didn't want to go up in the mountain, and if it's cold already, kind of suffer through it. So I just decided I'm going to start the race with a lot of water, but also all of my clothing, which turned out to be kind of a clutch decision that made a lot of sense in retrospect, based on how some other people's race experience was. Yeah, and let's address actually one of the last questions that just popped out, which is like kind of the elevation gain that you have at the beginning. It's very much about pacing yourself. And it's not just the elevation that makes this first, like whatever, 40 miles or the first day difficult. What makes it very difficult also is the heat, is the combination of the both and the fact that, yeah, you go like 25 miles where you can only replenish 2 times 1 liter, but most likely you're going to do even less than that because the first pit stop is a little closer. So it's about being heat adapted. It's probably the most important. It's not relevant for this year, but I didn't know that when I was training, and you should really plan for it to be hot. But it's heat training, so I went to the sauna fairly frequently, especially towards the end, at least 3-4 times a week, going 30-minute session. They say 20 minutes is enough, but I mean, like everyone else, I just want to train to the max, so I went more for 30 minutes, and then you're adapting to heat, which means I will suffer a little bit less, but I will be sweating more. And then in terms of the amount of water that I'm carrying for the segment, not quite yet, not what you're seeing right now. What you're seeing right now is the segment before the aid station, that's very easy. You go with 1 liter, that's enough. But as soon as we reach that first aid station, you have to have at least 4 liters, but I would say 5 liters is probably the minimum when it's a normal year. Last year, a lot of people went with 5 liters and didn't have enough water. So you have to be very careful, and there's no solving that. If you don't have enough water, you're going to be dehydrated. If you're dehydrated, you're going to pay for the rest of the week or potentially even DNF. So having the right amount of fluid will be important, preparing for the heat. And then it's just about, as you mentioned, pacing yourself, going slowly, using poles as much as possible. It's a long race ahead of you. And it's kind of weird when you're just like 5 hours in the race and you're already struggling. But 5 hours in the race, you're going to start to struggle already. And you have to accept that, there's still probably 95 to maybe 115 hours. I barely touched anything. And yes, it's a race, but you shouldn't hurry up too much to suffer, and pacing yourself, but also being relentless about moving forward is something that will be true for the whole race. It's rarely worth it to push to the point where you get tired, but at the same time, it's good to always keep moving as much as possible. But we'll talk about sleep later, and I see one of the questions is about like the importance of or how do I recommend sleeping? We all have different strategy, by the way. I think Cocodona, when it comes to practicing sleeping strategy or testing even sleeping or non-sleeping strategy, is probably the best place for that, because like right now what we're seeing is not technical, but it's single track and there's cacti on each side. So if you're really sleepwalking at this point, you're going to bump yourself and it's going to hurt. But a big portion of the course is really not technical. A big portion of the course, if you're hallucinating, sleepwalking, really struggling, it's fine, it's no problem. You want to sleep on the side of the trail, it's fine, it's no problem. You're not in the middle of a mountain pass in a snowstorm like Tour des Géants, where You can't just decide like, okay, I'm tired, I'm gonna sleep a little bit. You can at any time, almost, except for this version, I guess, but at almost any time you can just decide that I'm gonna lay down a little bit and sleep a little bit. But you could also decide that every night I'm gonna sleep 1, 2, 3 hours and try to avoid doing these small sleeping station. So first segment, I mean, it was super social. Like, some of the people that I was filming, like, we chat so much, that was absolutely fantastic. And the vibe, and I hope I will say it enough, but the vibe of this race is so cool. People are so excited to be there, and that really showed in those first 7 mile or whatever. It was really, really cool. But then you entered this segment, and this segment is a bitch. I think this segment is by far, on paper, the worst. This year it was not the case, but that's the segment that just never ends. You go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. 10,000 feet over 25 miles is kind of crazy in the middle of the desert. Really, really difficult. Let me just catch up a little bit with the chat. Oh, get snow. Oh, hey, Quebec. Nice. Yeah, that's I have a question about like the amount of training and preparation for these races. Before my first 100 mile, I mean, I've always, in terms of training myself, I've always had running as my cardio when I was going to the gym. Like, growing up, it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes of cardio, and I've always been pretty decent. But when I really turned to running itself, first marathon, actually, I kind of really didn't train so much for it, so it was kind of a disaster a little bit. But when I got back to it and got a little more serious, I probably took 6 months to train for my first real prepared marathon, and then it took me about 6 more months to gradually go from that marathon all the way to 100 mile. And that first 100 mile was actually, I've never done 100 miles so fast. Like, it was a 16-hour 18-minute. It was on a small loop. Like, it would be the equivalent of a track 100 mile, but 16-hour. Like, even saying it, I was like, something is wrong. I really don't think I could do that again. But hey, that's what it took. And then it was training ranging in the 70 miles, but a lot of speed work, hill training, straining session, and taking some rest days. Like, that's what I'm preaching in general. That's the ideal situation. But you don't necessarily need to train so much once you're at it. So at this point right now, when I'm preparing for 100 mile, I mean, I'm not training specifically for 100 mile. I'm at that level. And I don't think there's a big difference in the amount of running that you need to do a 200 mile. As opposed to a 100 mile. I think the mileage a week is probably very similar. What will matter more are different things like the amount of time that you spend on your feet. What was the most painful probably in that race for me, and has always been for all of my 200 milers, my heel just get really, really painful. The bottom of my feet become very, very painful. And if you've seen the video where I'm playing with my blisters, by the way, that was really an accident. I did not expect it to just piss blister liquid, but I didn't know I had a blister. I was just showing it for the movie. It's still painful even if you take care of your feet. Just the compression that you get nonstop from it. I have a little bit of tendonitis right now all over my feet. Like, it's just a little bit painful. I think the amount of time that you spend on your feet will matter. So it's not just about running a certain amount of mileage, but also spending a lot of time on your feet. And that would mean, hey, for the weekend you can go hiking both days instead of doing back-to-back long run. That would be great. But as always, time is a factor. The other thing that is really important is to really be good at, well, taking care of your feet, understanding what's the equipment that you need for yourself. And I think we have a special guest that is coming up very, very soon. You can come. But and that's a boring footage. But yeah, it's elevation gain. It's about sleeping, and that's my lovely Nora. Say hi to Nora, guys. This is a chat, Nora. Oops.
Hi.
You can see them there. Rah! It's hard to follow both, but I just, yeah, we have to have at least someone that is happy to see you.
It's okay. I'm not the star.
There's actually a delay between like what you guys see and hear and like what's happening in the chat. There you go. It's picking up right now.
Hi.
Yeah. Oh, I made it disappear.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go to your...
No, yeah. But what you can help me, Nora, by the way, is like,
Yeah.
if you see questions that are interesting, just like ask me those questions so that
Okay.
I can answer them and, of course, talk a little bit. But we were talking about like the preparation for a 200 miler, and it's things like sleep strategy, eating well, and strategizing the race a little bit more. The logistic of a race like that is so much harder. This thing crashes all the time though. That's annoying. The logistic of these races are difficult, and especially for Cocodona, I think that was really difficult because you have to think about, okay, I might need some shoes, new shoes at a certain point, but you have no clue when that's going to happen. Is it going to be Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, which aid station, where will you be at 50 hours? And the difference between that is like plus or minus a day, which makes it basically impossible to plan ahead of things. So you need to be able to be a little bit flexible with that, but yeah. And the other part, and that's something that's probably difficult to train, is that the mental game for a 200 miler is off the roof. The pain, I think, of doing a 200 miler is lower in terms of acuity to doing a 100 miler or even a marathon. But the amount of time that you're spending in that pain cave is just absolutely crazy. You start struggling at some point for any race, and usually, at least for me, around 20-40 miles, like, it starts being painful. And it's not because you're doing a longer race that all magically now I'm just gonna struggle starting at mile 180. No, at mile 40 I'm already struggling, and now you're thinking, okay, well, I'm struggling now, and there's only 210 miles to go. Like, I have like 4 more days of that going on, and that can really get to you. And especially for this race, that gets to you in this segment that I'm trying to show you, but like the slideshow it doesn't want to load. It really gets to you because this segment is tough. Like, you go through that segment and you really think there's no way I can actually go through that, to a segment like that where you're climbing so much all the time for the next 4 days. Luckily, if you're doing this race, probably number one tip is that the first segment, like going to Lane Mountain, it really is painful, and it really what's the synonym of suck? It stinks. It stinks.
Challenging.
It's challenging. Yes, it is challenging. Thank you, my love. It is challenging, non-stop. Sure, but that one is the worst. That was not the case for this year, and like we'll definitely get to that. But things get better, I think, in theory, maybe. Things get better eventually. But that segment, you have to go through it.
You have a lot of questions.
I have a question. Okay.
No, but there's so many. I don't know which ones you got to.
None of them. So ask me.
Okay. Shoot. Okay. How much did your pack weigh? And did you train specifically with weights for your back?
So my pack was way too heavy, and I wish I was able to show it right now, but it just keeps crashing for some reason. My pack was way too heavy, and it's because I was worried about being too cold. We expected rain all the time. And I just accordingly decided that, well, I'm just gonna carry everything from the start, and too bad if it's heavy. I'm still gonna, I'm still gonna carry it. But yeah, I don't have the specific in terms of weight, and I didn't train specifically for that. But you have to keep in mind, I'm racing all the time, so I'm used to it. But yeah, my back was actually a little bit painful through the race. And if I had a crew, and that I would really highly advise having a crew, that's part of the logistic that you have to deal with. And what makes this race a little bit challenging is that you go from pretty hot to pretty cold to pretty hot to pretty cold. So every day for the first 3 days, so you go through going up Lane Mountain, it's super hot on that first day. Then eventually, okay, like it's not so bad, you're in the Bracha Mountain, but now it's the night, and now it's super cold through the Bracha Mountain. Which, oh, god damn it, then you need to have layers, and then you come down the Bracha Mountain, you're in Prescott Valley, super hot again. Then you go up Mingus Mountain, super cold again. Then you go down in Sedona, super hot again. Then you go up on the Cucocino Forest, super cold again. And that means that like if you're solo, you're gonna be carrying everything all the time. You're gonna be carrying your puffy jacket, your hat, your gloves, and you really don't need that when you're around Sedona in the middle of the day. Like that's not what you need. If you need anything, actually, it would probably be a little bit more of water or like sunscreen or something like that. So if you have a crew, then what you do is every morning probably like you're gonna be giving them away all of that gear, and they're going to bring it to you to where they think the night will happen for you. And that's going to save you a hell lot of trouble. But I couldn't do that. Nora was pacing me eventually on the third day, but she was not crewing me because she was working, unfortunately, remotely Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I had to take care of my gear, and I couldn't use drop bag because I mean, I have one puffy jacket, like I'm broke, guys. So I had one puffy jacket. I can't just decide that I'm going to put it for Mingus because I also need it for the first night. So then I was just carrying it the whole time, and that's kind of what happened. You want to ask another question?
There's so many questions. But talk a little. There's some questions about socks and shoes. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you wore and what was your strategy with socks and shoes?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So when it comes to sock and shoes, that's probably the big thing that I learned from last year. So last year, what I did is that I had the strategy of like, oh, I'm going to change my socks and my shoes probably like every day. Every morning, I'm going to have a new pair of shoes and a new pair of socks. And in theory, that's great, and that's probably enough. But I was not able to estimate well enough. So what I did this year is that instead of doing it like that, I'm just going to have socks and shoes everywhere. Every drop bag that I could, I included a pair of shoes, a pair of socks, and if I need it, good. If I don't need it, too bad. But at least I have the option of changing them, because if you've seen the pictures from last year, my feet were pretty messed up with blisters, and it's because I knew I had to change my shoes, but also I couldn't change my shoes because I didn't have them, or socks would have been enough in this case actually, but I just didn't have that option. And if I had a crew, they would have been able to give it to me. If I had more drop bag, I would have been able to do it. And that's kind of what I decided this time, is I'm going to have drop bags more than I need, and they're always going to contain minimally shoes and socks. And the thing with being an influencer is that I have to test a lot of shoes, but I never have two pairs of the same shoes. So then I just put random shoes in random location. I started with the New Balance shoes, the Vective 3, Vective 4. But I also use some Hoka Mafate 4. I also use some Hoka Speedgoat 6. I also used some Joe Nimble Trail Addict. And it's just randomness that I picked these shoes, because I had other shoes. I had some La Sportiva that were available. I just didn't use them because at that aid station I didn't need to change them. But I think for this race, there's a few segments that are technical, but what?
No, continue.
Yeah, there's a few segments that are technical where trail running shoes that are good will be important. But for a very, very large amount of segment, like for example from Foxborough, which is I think 1 mile 77, all the way to basically Eldon, which is mile 245 or something, you're mostly on dirt road. You could really use road running shoes or something more for gravel rather than like technical shoes, and you would be perfectly happy. So the variety of shoes that you can use for that is totally broad, but what will be important is that it's shoes that will not give you blisters, which I mean, easier said than done in general.
I can answer some questions for you.
Yeah. Okay,
so one question is about sauna versus infrared room for heat training. Have you tried both? Any preference? You've only done a sauna, so you don't have a comparison.
That is correct, Nora. I've only done sauna. My understanding is it doesn't really matter, and you could even do like a hot water immersion. I think the best probably is... Oh, that's annoying. That's always crashing though. Sorry. I believe the best would be to actually like be like in Dead Valley or somewhere like that, and you're running in the heat, like you're exercising in the heat, but it's not always easy. And then the thing that you're really trying to do is put your body in a position where you need to cool it down whichever way. So the sauna is great for that, but infrared will work just as well as long as it's increasing your internal body temperature.
Yeah. The brand model back of the powder blue, the back The powder blue pack? Sorry.
The what?
I think that's just the backpack. He used Ultra Spire backpack.
The powder blue pack. Yeah, so I didn't use the powder blue pack.
That.
Is no, I don't think that's that necessarily. I think they're referring to a bag that I've used in the past. It's the Zigo 6 from Ultra Spire, which I love, and that's what I was maybe gonna use for this race, but I just couldn't cram enough of my layers in that. So instead, what I used was the Ultra Spire still, but the Epix 3.0, which is a huge bag. Like it's very, very, very big, but that's a good thing. For this race, that was a really, really good thing. That's kind of what I needed. I'm gonna try and get something that is smaller, probably like a 12 liters is not enough, so something that's closer to 20 liters is probably what I would aim for my next 200 miler, which will be Tahoe in about a month from today. Wow, that's coming up kind of really, really fast.
Yeah. All right, I can do another one that I can answer.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim.
Going for the 1,000-mile club was your question. Your goal is to do 100 milers.
Yeah, so okay. So the question that Tim is asking is, will I do Cocodona 4 times to get the 1,000-mile buckle? The answer is, that's a good question. I don't really care, but I will probably do it because really Cocodona is becoming kind of the event in terms of 200 miler. It's also driving distance for us, so I think it's very likely that I'm going to do that, but it's not necessarily like a super important goal for me to do that. And will I do the 2,500 the bigger one? I'm curious to see guys like Andrew Glaze and Wes Plate and Jeff reached that goal, and Jose also. It was actually interesting to meet all of these guys, but yeah, doing 10 years of Cocodona seems a little bit above what I'm gonna do. But 4 years is very reasonable, and it's very likely that I'm actually gonna sign up for next year, which then would make it 750. So we're close to that goal.
Next one I think I can answer is asking if Simon had crew or pacers, and do you recommend them for this race? Sounds like you already basically answered them, but I was just the only pacer. Oh, there was one other, Greg. Last minute, Greg. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, and Jeff is online, but yeah. So I mean, definitely Nora was the main pacer for like what, 40 miles?
44 miles.
44 sorry guys, 44 miles.
Come on.
Yeah, they were beautiful miles. That was like the most happy we've been on trail for a long time, honestly. Like probably Tours Mont Blanc was probably the happiest we've been on trail for a while, but then there was the injury. So this time no injury, but it was absolutely great.
Beautiful.
But then we had some friends that were around, and it was like, Simon needs some help. So we had Jeff Iosa, who kind of helped me crewing at Fort Tuttle, exactly. But it was not classic crewing where like he would have my stuff, but rather just kind of helping me at the station, which is super appreciated. But it doesn't solve the problem that I need to carry all of my stuff. And then he found a pacer for me, which was Greg, which was absolutely great. And it wasn't a clutch moment. It was from Walnut towards the end. So that's mile 240, I think, to all the way to 247, where I was sleepwalking, and really he came in the right time to kind of give me back energy, and I was able to finish the race strong thanks to that. So, but that was the extent of it. And then of course there were so many people that want to help on the course, and they recognize me and they say, "Hey Simon, what's up?" So I received some help, but yeah, I do recommend a crew. 100% recommend a crew. And if you can have a pacer at all segment that you can have a pacer, that's the best. If it's difficult for you to have a pacer for all of the segment, of course you can go online on Facebook, or we have our friends from Ultra Crew Hub. You can go on the website or the app that can help you find a crew or pacer. But if you're limited in number, the most useful is the night, because you're going to be so dead tired that having someone help you make the right decision is super helpful, like not lose the trail and these sorts of things.
You need to be faster at answering these. There's too many questions.
Yes, I will be faster, I promise. And I'm just going to say what's going on right now. We're still doing that stupid climb, but then it decided to rain, which in a way is actually good. And a lot of people say that this year was way harder than usual. Actually, I'm not sure it was necessarily harder or easier than last year. I think obviously that segment was actually easier, because right now I would be sweating my balls off, but instead I'm just a little bit in the rain, and that's kind of okay. Actually, that was refreshing, so that helped. And I did that segment, I was carrying 4 liters, and I knew that 4 liters would be too much anyway. So that's a huge difference to usual. I did fall down while filming, so that's one of the the danger of filming your movies a little bit.
All right, can you talk? There's a couple questions about sleep strategy. Can you talk a little bit about
so sleep strategy is very personal, and I think I kind of mentioned it a little bit at Cocodona. It's a good place to kind of experiment that, where if you want to skip sleep and just like be a tough guy and you don't sleep so you finish faster, you can do it. And that's a good place because you will not lose the trail. You're on the dirt road for the last segments, like for a very, very long time. It's not very technical most of the time. So even if you're kind of wobbly a little bit, it's not going to be an issue. It's not like Tour des Géants, where I would say Tour des Géants, you got to sleep well and you got to do the mountain pass when it's the right time of the day. Here, you can do whatever you want. Personally, I think what's the best and the best overall, like I don't understand why people want to skip sleep so much. Is to sleep 1 or 2 hours. Ideally, if you had the ability to pick, it's to sleep in these aid stations where you have a cot. Even better if you have like a crew where you can have your own bed so you don't get disturbed by people around you, and you sleep 1 or 2 hours early in the morning, so just before sunrise. So the best would be you go to bed, it's still dark outside, you sleep for 1 or 2 hours, you wake up, and then it's the morning. That kind of recreates a cycle, and you can kind of trick your brain that like, hey, you slept a full night, like why are you complaining right now? And that will really help. And starting that from day one, eventually you'll need potentially more and more sleep. But my own experience is that skipping sleep will just mean that you're more likely to have trail nap on the side of the trail that are 5 minute, 20 minute, and they're just not as good as what you would get in a cot or a bed. And when you sleep like an hour at an aid station, as soon as you get out of that aid station, you're so much stronger, you don't feel the pain as much, and you go much faster. And I definitely see it a lot at Cocodona, where a lot of people try to skip sleep. You will have people that we come in at the aid station more or less at the same time, and they go with the strategy of not sleeping. I say, whatever, I want to sleep, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep 1 or 2 hours. I wake up, obviously they're long gone, but within like 5 to 10 miles, I catch up to these people, I'm running past them, and at the same time, I'm feeling much better, much happier. So personally, I prefer to sleep like 1 or 2 hours, but it's good to experiment and see what works for you. It's difficult for some people to fall asleep, especially the first night or even the second night, when you're kind of so geared up and full of adrenaline. Like you lay down in the bed and potentially there's people around you talking and you're just like and when you feel like that, it feels like you're wasting your time laying down. But even that, I think, is not necessarily true. First, for me, sometimes I feel like that, but then at some point, like it's almost like bang, now I fall asleep. I 1 minute before, I was just so sure I would not sleep, but I do manage to fall asleep anyway, even though it felt hopeless. And sometimes, and we'll talk about it maybe later, like at Whiskey Row, I was not able to fall asleep. I just stayed 30 minutes laying down in bed, people talking around me, and then I decided, fuck this, I'm gonna leave. And it would seem like it was a waste of time, but I don't think so. I think in the end, it was actually still helpful for me to lay down for that amount of time, to rest my legs a little bit, and yeah, then just to be a little bit fresher, and then next time I will be tired enough to fall asleep.
Do you know how many hours you slept total?
I think I don't, but I think so. Let's make the math together, and you're gonna help me add up. Okay, I'm gonna do the.
I'll try.
Thank you. But so I did about like, I tried half an hour at Whiskey Row. Then at Mingus, I skipped that, but then we were at together at Dead Horse, and that was probably an hour and a half. So we're already at 2 hours. The next time I slept significantly was probably
Foxborough.
Yeah, at Foxborough. Yeah, I mean, maybe I did 30 minutes, not even at Sedona. So let's call it 2.5 hours, just to account for also a small nap on the trail. Foxborough, I did an hour and a half, I think. So we're already at 3-4 hours. Then nothing at Moons. Then I went to Fort Tuttle. I think I did an hour there. So we were 5 hours.
Yeah, 5 hours or 5.5.
5.5, and then probably 30 minutes at Wildcat. And then on top of that, there's 5, 10, 15 minute nap here and there that are hard to add up, because it's just like at some point I'm so tired that I walk 2 miles and I'm just laying down for 5 minutes and then rinse, repeat. So How much was that? Like maybe
6 to 7.
6 to 7. Wow. Okay, not too bad.
Okay. All right. I'm having trouble doing all of this, but there are some questions about how certain things impacted your mindset, if any. So one is the news of, because he did know about the news of the DNFs, like Courtney, on the course. Curious if that had an effect on you. And as well, did it have any effect on you, like thinking about the 100-hour, sub 100 hour into how you were racing this?
Interesting. So Courtney, I found out on the course eventually. I mean, as you know, like I try my best to be on the live feed, and then eventually you find out these things. No, it didn't affect me. I think I'm so used to seeing pros DNF very often, and it can be for various reasons. Like pros are not DNFing because, wow, this course is just too difficult for me. It can be silly things like it's just not their day, and especially someone like Courtney, like she's badass, like she's super badass, she's a fast runner, but also there's the pressure for someone like that if she is racing a race, she needs to win or do something big. She can't just like I would be more traumatized if I'm doing my little things, like I'm Simon mid-packer, and then I leave an aid station. I realize that Courtney is leaving at the same time as me. Like, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, she has to drop if that situation happened because she has to save herself for the next race. There's no reason for her to finish mid-pack. She will pull the plug. So when a pro like that pulls the plug, I just hope it's not because they're injured or something bad is going on. I just hope it's because they are having a bad day. In their case, and what we would hear and what kind of affected us a little bit was that the aid station were always like very insistent about asking us like, do you have all of your gear? Like, do you have a rain jacket? Do you have a hat? Do you have your gloves? And I mean, I had my huge pack and I was like, dude, are you kidding me right now? Like, obviously I have everything that you want me to have, but sure, like, ask me. And then someone was like, yeah, we're asking because like some of the pros had hypothermia. I was like, well, I mean, pros need to carry as little as possible. In my case, I'm carrying too much, but other than that, that was fine. And the second part of that was what?
The sub 100 hour thing.
Yeah, so the sub 100 hour, it was always kind of back of my mind that I wanted to do a sub 100 hour. But I did the math wrong for the longest time, which probably surprised Nora because I'm really good at doing these kind of like, okay, if I go at like 4.5 like mile an hour for the next like 3 hours and I switch this pace, like I can calculate and pinpoint like what it will be. But for whatever reason, I was always thinking that 4 full days, like 4 times 24 were 94 hours, whereas obviously it's 96. So I was always thinking that I had 6 hours after 5 o'clock in the morning. So I had until 11 in the morning Friday. But I realized that I was off by 2 hours when I was on Eldon, even not on Eldon, when I was coming down Eldon. Eventually I was like, wait, actually, Simon, you have until 9 o'clock, not 11 o'clock. And that's where I just like switch it to like, I'm running now. And that was maybe 5 miles out of like the finish line. I was like, I'm running. And like I was running. I think I did these 5 miles within like an hour because I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to miss the 100 hour because when I was on Eldon at sunrise, I decided I'm just going to lay down and relax and like watch the sunrise. And then I'm going to record a little something and post on the live feed. Like I was like, this is so dumb. Like I got to run. So I sprint to the finish and that was a really strong finish. And then I had 30-minute buffer actually in the end.
Yeah. I'm curious more earlier in the race, there's questions about sort of your Crown King exertion and if it was too fast, too slow, just right, as well as what was the impact of rain on the course.
Yeah, so I was not so tired at Crown King. Like, I think we actually just did it now. We just reached in the video that we have. This is Lane Mountain, and you have the folks from Ultra Spire. Like, we had Zach here. We have, well, that was short-lived. I should have taken more footage. But we have Bryce and all of these people from Ultra Spire, which is the backpack that I'm wearing. And I was feeling pretty good. I was way better than last year. Last year when I arrived there, I was, like, dehydrated and just a little bit confused. Whereas there, my legs were hurting a little bit, and I fell down in the mud. But because it was not as warm, or because it was, if anything, a little bit cool, it just felt better. So I was much fresher, and that's where like this year, yeah, the weather was bad and made it difficult, but at the same time it made it much easier for that.
Yeah. Now questions about on the course. Curious, it sounds like what was a part of the course that surprised you the most, and what was a part of the course that was the hardest?
Yeah, I think. Well, I had no surprise, I guess, for the course because I did it last year. But let's put myself in someone who hadn't raced it before, or how I felt last year. What surprised me the most is just the amount of non-technical and dirt road that you have on the course, because it's really portrayed as like, this is so badass, like you have so much single track, and like, what are we seeing right now? We're seeing from Lane Mountain to Crown King, it's dirt road, and from like Crown King all the way to like, I don't even remember how far, but almost all the way to Whiskey Road, most of it is dirt road. And then when you're up in the like the last 80 miles of the race, it's dirt roads. I didn't picture that there would be so much dirt road, and there's still a lot of single track, but much less than I expected. The hardest part really depends on the year and the weather. Usually, by far the hardest when it's really hot, it's that first segment, or I mean, I guess it's second segment from like mile 7 all the way to 34, 35, like going up Two-Lane Mountain. It's super difficult. Other segments that are difficult if it's a hot year, around Prescott, when you go all the way from Prescott, which is mile, I think, 80, all the way to Fain Ranch, which I believe is like mile 90. You're going to Caulfield and these sorts of crap, and it's super hot. It's very difficult, and you even have like the Dell, the Granite Dell, which is hard to navigate over there. That's a pretty difficult segment, but the real challenge of the race, I think, for me is the extreme in terms of temperature that you have to deal with, which is super hot during the day, super cold at night, and then obviously the distance. Like it never ends.
Yeah. What gear or item did you end up relying on more than you expected?
I think the change of socks and shoes is something that like I can't just express how important that is. You will have terrible blisters and terrible feet if you don't take care of yourself, and having those really makes a huge difference. Beyond that, poles super helpful. There's a lot of climb, like even though like it's what 35,000 feet or 40,000 feet of elevation gain total over 250 miles, like it's a relatively flat course, but you have these segments that are very much uphill, and you get so tired that having that support is important. And then that's why, you know, like is it here? Yeah, you can see it here. Like that's super painful. That's from the wrist of my Lecky pole, and last year apparently that was the elbow of using my pole so much. But that's a good sign that I was using them a lot, and that was really important.
Yeah. Favorite food on the course?
Oh wow, that is a really good question. I mean, the aid station at Cocodona, we can't emphasize that enough, are just absolutely fantastic. And you have Jam Jam's mom taking care of that in some of the aid station. Something that hit the spot pretty often for me was pasta along the course. So you have the lasagna up at Mingus, that is really good. I was very happy with the hot dog. You gave them to me. Which aid station was that?
That was Deer
Underpass. Deer Underpass was absolutely great for that.
I ate one too.
Something that the year before really helped me is a Sloppy Joe at Iron King, or Iron King aid station around like mile, I want to say 80, and that really kind of revived me from the dead. And of course, like Pete's Meat, which was moved this time, and I didn't know that. I should have read about the course before, but Pete's Meat used to be on top of Eldon, the last aid station, the one where like I should really finish the race, but at the same time, this is such a cool aid station. I'm going to take a little longer, and they have a lot of different stuff. One that I really like was the spring roll. It just like kind of goes in very easily.
Yeah, those are good. Oh my gosh, there's so many. All right, I'm trying to group them, everyone. I guess this is, good to ask. Looking back, is there anything you would do differently if you ran Cocodona again for a third time, I guess? Yeah, for sure. Yes. The answer is yes, because it was a yes or no question. Moving on. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so what I definitely learned from the first time is like I have to have more things in my drop bag, because I don't know what I'm going to need and when I'm going to need it, but I'm going to need it. And this year I did that better with socks and shoes, but something that we tried to solve before the race, but just last minute we were not able to solve,
was having like a toothbrush and a toothpaste and everywhere. That would be so helpful. Like at some point you get so gross in your mouth that you have some mouth sore, and that did happen to me, and that's just not really pleasant, right? So definitely I would try to have that. I had at least like some floss here and there, which by the way, this is Jose, who's done it 5 times now, so he's one of the OG. But that's one of the things I would do differently. I think I would try to carry less stuff, and I think I would make a bigger effort to have a crew this time, not just Nora, because yeah, it's lonely out there, and I think I'm tired of carrying all of my stuff.
Yeah, one good question that was way back that I didn't answer, or we didn't ask yet, was about like knowing you're prepared to do Cocodona. Sorry, I lost your comment, and I should be saying who's asking these questions. I'm sorry. But it sounds like they've done like 100K. Crackers, where is it?
So when do you know you're ready for a race like Cocodona?
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's absolutely a great question. Look, I did Cocodona last year. I probably had done, 4,500 miler. And my point is not that you should have done 4,500 miler before you're ready for Cocodona. It's actually the absolute opposite. When I came in, I felt that I was not prepared for it. And I think the reality is that you're never truly prepared for it. You're never going to know for sure that you're going to finish a race like that, because so much bad things can happen. A lot of it will come in your head, and a lot of it will come from mental toughness. But I think if you can do 100 mile, and I guess we say that at all distance, but if you can do 100 mile, for sure you can try to do Cocodona. And the skill set are a little bit different. So you could be even less fit than you would need for a 100 miler, but having these others aspect kind of dialed up will be pretty important. One of the reasons why I think I'm good at these distances is I have a background more in hiking than, let's say, track running, and because of that, like taking care of like things like sleeping, weather elements, solving problem, my backpack just broke, what should I do, blisters, it's kind of second nature for me. Like it doesn't fuss me and like, hey, I had blisters this time around, but like actually that blister came from like the prior race, like not from this race anyway. And that's what will be more important. But I would say, like, if you're thinking about doing it, you've done, I think it was 100K apparently. Mm-hmm. So you have like 1 year to prepare for that. I think you can prepare in 1 year to be able to do a race like that. Now, would I recommend doing that? I would definitely recommend doing 100 milers before doing that, because you wanna know that you're familiar with running through the night and these sorts of long distance where it just feels overwhelming. Like, and I felt it like that at 100 mile. Like, I'm 30 miles in and you know, my butt is already chafing, it's painful, and I cannot see the end of it. Having that kind of mental resilience and knowing that you could do these other distance will definitely help you mentally, knowing that you can do it.
Yeah. So this is one funny comment I want to note. So Hobo Steve, too, we laughed a little bit about you. You have one puffy jacket, but like 15 pairs of shoes. I want to add a comment that he actually used an even scruffier puffy jacket before I bought him a new one this Christmas. So
yeah, so the thing is that, like, I have a lot of pair of shoes because there's a lot of companies for shoes. I don't know who would give me a puffy jacket, so the puffy jacket we did buy. So thank you. It was a gift for Christmas.
Yes, I got you for Christmas.
Yes, it was Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah.
I should have gotten him more than one, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
That's the lesson I'm learning.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good comment.
Any cramping during this race?
I don't know that I would call it cramping, but something that happens to me fairly frequently is when I lay down for more, especially if it's comfortable, for more than 10-15 minutes, it just becomes super painful everywhere in my leg muscle. It's not cramping, but like it feels as painful. And I believe that's kind of the lactic acid being cleared up a little bit. But other than that, no, like I had a little spasm like on my calves a little bit, but nothing that hurt.
Okay. Some people are asking about one of my favorite segments. How is the segment between Sedona and Foxborough Ranch?
Oh, yeah. So that's the segment that we called Hangover Trail. And
do you have footage?
Yeah, we have footage. How about I go get that footage? Because right now what we're seeing is the first night, and we're in the Bradshaw, but we're going to skip ahead a little bit, unless there were questions for before that.
There were other questions, but I can.
Can we get back to it later?
Yeah, we can get back to it later.
And we'll talk a little bit like how that was like the first night of the race. The rain was over for a little bit. Eventually it came back, but I was really worried that that first night would be really, really, really cold. And it was cold and there was some rain. But the one that was really problematic was actually the second night. This night is just a lot of dirt road and just trying to fight sleepiness. But it went pretty smoothly. And like when you pass that segment going up to Lane Mountain, going down to Whiskey Road, there's a lot of ups and downs and it's tiring, but it's not nearly as bad. It's just, it feels like it lasts forever. So that went actually pretty smoothly. However, there are people that, and that's where I was so happy that I had all of my stuff with me. That aid station at Crown King is probably the most important aid station that you have on the whole course. If you do the race, you have to know that it's really, really, really good if your crew can be there. If not, your drawback there is basically your life, because you move from that really hot segment where you have to have probably 5 or 6 liters of water capacity, and you don't need any layers. Like it's not needed to stay warm in that segment because you're gonna be warm. But then you're going in the Bradshaw Mountain, and it's up at altitude. It's the night. It can be cold, and for us, there was forecast of rain, which eventually did come, and it was really cold. So that Crown King station is where you switch from your hot desert gear to cold mountain gear. And there's some people that their drawback was not there. Aravaipa is a great organization, so obviously they took step to solve that, and shit happened, and shit did happen for this specific case. But I know one person who basically crossed these mountains without like the appropriate gear. They were expecting it to be at Camp Kipa. That's where they said the drawback would be, but that never arrived. This is not Camp Kipa. This is the one before that. But yeah, you have to have the right gear, and you can see it's starting to rain a little bit.
And so actually we're in the night scene right now. So another question is about the light that you used and how scary it is on the trail. And how scary is it in the middle of the trail, in the middle of the night on the trail? And did you have any hallucinations?
Oh, hey, we have a gift, by the way, from Richard De Silvia. So thank you for the support. Yeah, there are super chat.
Thank you.
I don't know where you need to click. I guess it's somewhere here, but we do appreciate that. So thank you very much. Obviously, I mean, I do need to buy a second puffy apparently. So really appreciate that, all of the support. I mean, we do that for fun, but we do appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Oh, dang. Thank you again. How do you do this? Thank you.
Yeah, I have no clue, but I see it actually on this screen. So first I'm doing a super chat donation. My often have.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I really hope my content is helpful to everyone who wants to get into trail running, inspired. Hopefully you can see it like we're pretty normal people.
Yeah.
We're pretty normal. We're more or less normal. I have above average gas, but we'll get to that later.
Wait, that was the word.
Way above average in terms of gas, but otherwise we're normal people, and I think normal people can do incredible stuff. And that's true for you, and I think having the right guidance and the right tips is important. It's not just for people that want to stay hard and no, it's people who want to have adventure, meet people, and a race like that, especially long distance, like especially 200 miler, is perfect for that. So thank you, Richard, and your wife. Really much appreciate that.
Yeah.
And for how scary is it at night? It's not really scary. I think what's scarier is probably that you would trip and hurt yourself, or maybe lose the trail or something like that. But I think we all have different fears. And for me, one of the fear that would be higher than that is just to be too cold in the middle of the night and not having the layers to warm up. It's not because it's dark. It's not because I hear animals. I mean, I've seen bears in the past few races that I saw it at Canyon Ultra, for example, and it's just like, I mean, the bear is scared of me, it's not the other way around. So not really scared, but if you're not used to it, I understand that it can be scary, and I think exposure is what really is going to help you for that. It's to do it a few times. That's where, like I said, for example, doing a 100 miler before doing a 200 miler is helpful, because when you're going 3, 4, 5 days, you will start hearing stuff a little bit, and that's a little bit scarier. For me, my exposure that I had, that I think kind of killed being scared of the night, and I don't know what it was for you. I'm curious to hear actually, but when I was just a little boy, I was in something that would be kind of the equivalent of the Boy Scout, I guess, and then they sent us camping just by ourselves, like one by one, and like spread out. Uh, and I don't know, like I was scared of that, and I was not the only one who was scared of that, of sleeping at night, and then you hear sound all around you, and you always, and of course they prime you, like they talk about how there was a bear attack in the past few days, so like they do it on purpose to kind of freak the fuck out of you, and obviously like they're looking out for you, so what you hear is most likely the instructor just walking around. But like I was so scared, and eventually I fell asleep, and then you realize that nothing happened. And ever since, things have happened at night, like yeah, meeting animals in the middle of the night. I remember when I was camping, I think it was Wyoming, almost every night I would hear what was a big animal rubbing itself against the tent, and I don't know if it was a bear, if it was a deer, or what the hell it was, but it's like, oh man, like, and then you take your pole, like your walking pole, like, oh, I'm gonna if he comes in, I'm gonna snap it in the face with my pole. I'm not sure that would do much help, but then eventually you kind of get used to it, and it's fine, and you're more likely to die of hypothermia, dehydration, or just fall down the cliff. So that's what you should be worried about.
But what was the light that you used, and did you have any hallucinations?
Yeah, so the light that I use is a Phoenix. Oh my god, it has a name like a Terminator. So Phoenix, maybe T75 or 65. A lot of lights are really good. I like also the Ultraspire has a waist lamp that I think you were using actually.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of it, but Ultraspire is the same as my backpack. A very very good light, and what's good with both of these lamps is they use these like super powerful battery. I'm sure it's like 1700 something, but these batteries are fairly common, but at the same time not like they're not expensive, fairly common, and very durable. And I think a headlamp is definitely something that is worth investing in, something that is good. You don't want it to die because it's raining and it's cold, and you should really have a backup. Like even for a 100-miler, I really think you should carry 2 headlamp plus a spare battery, and that the spare battery could work for both of those. But yeah, for 200 miles, it's so very likely that one of your headlamp would die. If you only have one, it could really ruin your race. Of course, people around you will support you. That person that have the drop bag, his headlamp, like he had the safety headlamp, it eventually died, so he had to run in the dark. But when people are around you, they're going to support you. Aid station volunteer will support you. But yeah, have to for sure. I hate that it's crashing all the time. Sorry about that, guys.
And no hallucinations?
No hallucination, but I think that's a little harder to actually answer if I had or had not hallucination, unfortunately. I had no hallucination, I think, but I was hearing very often like noise behind me, which I thought was like another runner coming, when clearly there was no one behind me, and like no one for a very very long time. Like it's not like there's no one like 10 meters behind me. Like there's no one, and I would sleep for 10 minutes and no one would pass me. Like there was really no one, and I don't know if it was sound on my backpack. I did also hear, and if you follow that race, a lot of the course kind of been restricted because of spotted owl, or
All?
like she says.
No, owl?
Owl.
Mon amour.
Ibu. And like the 125 and the Flagstaff crest is a different course because of that. And I'm pretty sure I heard them, but at the same time, I don't know if I was so tired that I wanted to hear that they exist. So I'm not quite sure if I heard them or not. Visually, I didn't have any hallucination, but I was... my issue was not so much hallucinating thing, and it's never really been the case for me, but it's more sleepiness where I'm walking, and usually what it's more like, it's then at some point I kind of get like lightheaded a little bit, and it feels a little bit like being drunk, and then she sees me and I'm wobbling around, and if she's talking to me, I'm not going to be super responsive. Like I might say like I'm slurring my speech just as if I was drunk. This time was even worse than that. Like it felt like I was walking normal, feeling normal, and I would feel like, oh, I'm getting a little tired, and next thing you know, I'm walking in a puddle because I kind of like I was out of it for a little bit, and I just like continued walking and then walk in the puddle and just be like, God damn it, like that was annoying. And that started from the first night, and actually what I'm trying to show right here, like that around that time I was really struggling with that. Like I was falling asleep all the time, thinking, wow, like this is the first night I'm supposed to still be awake. Like of course I can do a night without sleeping, but it just would not happen. And I think that's tiredness from my previous race. Hey, we had a super chat from, wow, a super big.
I know. It's sorry, you go.
I know, but I mean, you can say it. I love.
Thank
so
you.
we have Brad supporting the channel with a huge donation. So thank you so much. Really appreciate this donation. Was
He
there a
also
message?
asked a question.
If we give money this way, does that go to the YouTube?
Or Simon.
Yeah, that goes to me. Well, to us, to the channel. Yes. So it's not so it's not to YouTube Corporation. They do take a cut, which is annoying. Usually the best way, if you want to give proportionally, the cut is much lower. If you subscribe to my Patreon page, the cut is much lower on there. So that's the best kind of way to not give to big corporation. This is annoying. It's just a little. It's not giving as much to big corporation if you go to my Patreon page. But otherwise, yes, the vast majority of the proceeds go directly to supporting the channel. In terms of like actually what I'm planning to do with that, I mean, obviously it's paying the camera gear and these sorts of things. One of the things that I want to do, I've never had like coaching courses from UNESCO, but USCA, but I think I'm going to do that. I think that's going to help me give better tips to all of you guys, like having that information, primary information. I'm not planning to become a coach or anything like that, but I think the information will be helpful. So that's definitely kind of one of the direction that I'm going in. Hopefully I'm going to do that this summer. So, but Brad, thank you very much. And obviously I know you've been following for a very long time, so very much appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Otherwise I continue the narrative.
Yeah, I can continue the narrative, but I'm going to have to head down. I have to go back to work, everyone.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
She has to earn the money.
I have to go back to work. Okay, bisous.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Well, thanks for joining.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Hopefully this thing won't crash anymore. All right. I'm gonna try to follow the question at the same time as telling you the story here. But this is the first night I was totally out of it by then. Blisters. No, I did not have to deal with. Oh, I have one blisters that I had to deal with. This is dying all the time. Sorry. All right, let's do like that. Easier. Blister. No, I did not have to deal with blisters so much. I had one on my small toe on the right side, and it was actually kind of painful a little bit. But no, I was actually pretty good, and that's thanks to being able to change my socks a lot of time, and having dry feet really makes a huge difference. And because of the rain, that was actually because of the rain, that was actually much harder to do. But I've been good at taking care of myself, and the way I do it, by the way, I have a video about that, and I think unfortunately it's one of these things that we all have different feet, and the blisters can come from different reasons. I mean, one of the common reason is friction, and the other reason is humidity, and then it's a combination of that. So if you're sweating a lot from your feet, you're more likely to have blisters, and the way to fight that, for example, is to have shoes that are breathing a little bit more, to be able to use maybe a liner sock which will absorb humidity. So I use Fox River socks, which are white socks, and I use Darn Tough, so smart wool socks on the exterior. And if this is not enough because it's really hot, then it's about changing them potentially every 20 miles. If you're river crossing, maybe changing your shoes and changing your socks can really help for that. But if your issue is a little bit more the friction, first look at like where do these blisters come, and usually they will be at specific spots that kind of are recurring a little bit. Number one thing that you can do is change the shoes. Maybe the fit is not quite good. Maybe it's a little bit too tight. Maybe if it's like pressing, like the toe box is a little bit too narrow, that can be the issue for me. That's why I sometimes have it on my pinky. If it's kind of between a little bit your toes, finger socks can really help. I think Nora tried some last time that really helps. Sometimes I use that myself. I don't think it's like essential for me, but these like NGG socks can be very helpful for that. And then the last thing that I do myself for that is I tape my feet a little bit. Some people will also use a lube to help. The danger with lube is that if you spread it too much and your issue is because it's more humidity and you're sweating a lot on your feet, you will see these feet sometimes, like I don't want to name names, but like some influencers have feet that like you can just look at it and it's just kind of like they look like when you're in warm water in your bath for too long, and it's kind of macerating and makes the skin much more sensitive, and having like Vaseline or something will just trap the humidity. So I think it can be dangerous to use too much lube, But if you know specifically that between these toes, like that's where it's usually happen, like put some in there, smack it there, or potentially tape it, and that's going to be helpful. But it's a lot of trial and error and understanding your own feet to be able to reach that. But I think that the goal should be that you finish a 200-mile and your feet look almost normal. Like there's no reason to want to suffer through blisters and losing all of your toenails. Like you definitely don't need to lose all of your toenail when you're running a marathon. Some people do, and some people brag about that, but you really don't need that. And for a 200-miler, I mean, I had one blisters, and we had rain for 2 days. So it is possible, and you can do that too. All right, Robin, you're saying good night. Well, good night. I have actually no clue how long we're going to go for that. But yeah, all right, let's continue with the story a little bit, and sorry about the footage. But yeah, so first night, like, it was pretty rough. I was falling asleep. We go down to Whiskey Row. Whiskey Row was my goal for all the night. I was like, I'm going to sleep there in the morning. It kind of feels so great. But then the aid station was super loud. Do me a favor, if you have a crew and there's a sleep station, please crew outside of the sleeping area, and the sleeping area should only really be the runner, so that other people can sleep, but that's beside the point. Then we go in the Dells. Yeah, Johanna, I didn't have to I didn't have to wear Nora's pants, but I don't know why you're happy about that. I mean, I had a great ass in her pants, right? Yeah, yeah, it's burning your retina, like the me showing my ass, and it was really hot. This year was not as hot, and maybe it's because I was not wearing Nora's pants and I did not have my Lululemon has, so like maybe that's why we had cooler weather potentially. Like, I don't want to say it's all about me, but I think that's a like fairly realistic explanation. But anyway, second day it started, and when you start in Prescott, it's kind of boring. You're in the neighborhood, but you arrive at some point, bang, and it's the Dell. And the Dell, I have to show you the Dell. Oh my God. If you haven't seen the Dell, you can also run through that. Now it's my third time going through that, because it's also where the Saddles 100 is, or it's going through there. And the Dell is just this, it's next to this lake, which I'm sure has a name, and I'm sure someone in the chat knows it. But it's such a change of scenery that it's very welcome for that, but it's very difficult to navigate or to find where the hell you're supposed to go, especially if you do it through the night. Luckily, I didn't have to do it through the night, but if you're a fast runner or if you're a little bit slower, you're going to go through the night. It can be really difficult. And what I heard is that people that did it the night after I came by, where the weather was much worse, it was horrific condition. Like, from the footage that I've seen, I cannot imagine. Watson Lake, thank you guys, thank you. So Watson Lake, which is absolutely gorgeous, but if you go through the night there during a rainstorm, the water would accumulate in these rocks, and it was absolutely horrendous condition. I really cannot imagine that anyone had to go through that night in that storm, which I'll show you when I was up Mingus. Like, that was not great in Mingus, where the water didn't accumulate nearly as much. So these people had absolutely no chance of finishing. Maybe some of them did, but like, I'm very happy I did not have to do that. But yeah, that area is definitely a little bit more technical, but gorgeous, and it's such a change of scenery. And one of the things that I love about Cocodona, and one of the reasons I think Cocodona will become an event that will really stay and will become more and more popular, is that when you're doing these long distance, you really want to feel the distance. Like, you want to feel that you've been traveling so much, and oh my God, you know, like I really went far. And the way you see that is that you're going through different climate. You're from the desert that was super hot, these cacti just like in cartoon, and then you're in the Dell. Well, you pass a mountain, and then you're in the Dell. It's just totally different. These rock formation, like, that's pretty cool. And then next thing you know, you're climbing another mountain range, and then you're gonna go in the valley where Sedona is, and it's just like, wow, like I went this far with my feet. Like, this is so absolutely amazing. So the change of scenery makes it special, and not to throw dart at any other race of 200 or 300 miles that are also in Arizona, but it felt that some other races are a little bit more repetitive, and this one, except for, like, yeah, there's repetition when it comes to the amount of dirt road, but you have to get places, right? Like, you have to do these distances, and this is so annoying. That's crashing all the time. But you really feel this distance, which is absolutely amazing. All the repellers came through. It was horrible. Yeah, exactly. Like Hard Rocks is saying, the people that went there, like it was waterfall. You saw these are like granite rocks, so the water doesn't just get absorbed in the ground, and then you had like waterfall, and you have to climb these, and it's hard to navigate during the day. So imagine at night. The markers are under the water. Like it must be horrible. I really don't know that anyone could actually do that and feel good. And on top of that, is if you're doing that on the second night, that means that you're already close to cutoff. So you kind of have to get moving, which is not the condition that you want, unfortunately. So really sorry about anyone who had to go through that, unfortunately. DNF Zion, so much respect for you. Yeah, I mean, thanks, Marshall, about like the 100K at Zion. I mean, it's a different challenge. I think some people have more affinity for longer distances, because if the footage was working better, you would see that most of the time I'm actually kind of walking, like whereas 100K you're expected to follow a certain pace, which is closer to running. So don't get discouraged by that. And Zion can be difficult, can definitely be pretty hot. Also, we did it last year, so there's definitely room for improvement. Let me just follow that. That was knee deep in place. Well, knee deep, yeah. Knee deep in the water at Watson Lake and the Dell, like exactly, like hypothermia is a real thing. I mean, you're underwater. It was so cold up in the mountain for us, and a lot of people were close to hypothermia, or I assume some people were going through hypothermia going down Mingus, but we were not submerged in water. It was just rain, so absolutely, like it must have been absolutely horrific. So really sorry for all of the folks that were there, unfortunately. Tell us about your mental challenge. Yeah, hallucination, as I said, I didn't have like something like that terrific. I'm not someone who hallucinates so much. And by the way, like people that hallucinate a lot, usually it's a sign that potentially there's some issues with your food. So you're in energy deficit, or potentially electrolyte, and sure, tiredness also. But if you eat well and you sleep enough, you shouldn't have hallucination. Like it's not necessarily a good sign. It's a sign that you're really in the negative in something that you could resolve for that. I'm not saying like you will always avoid it. In terms of mental toughness or challenges, the second night it was just absolutely horrible. And again, if I was in the Dell during that, like I think I would have given up. Like that was not great. But I really tried to break it down by like when I'm really struggling, the size of the breakdown that I do is smaller. When I'm really, really, really struggling, I'm really focusing on, I'm going to reach that next tree, and then I'm going to, like, I'm looking at my watch, I'm going to do 0.1 mile, and that's enough. When I'm doing a little bit better, I'll focus a little bit more on reaching that aid station in an amount of time, or, like, the more global picture. But the more I struggle, the more I try to make these goals something like, obviously, I can do 0.1 mile. Obviously, I can reach that tree. And then just doing that, if you think about it, doing one more step, eventually you reach the destination. I know it sounds silly, but I try to break down, and the size that I break down will matter a lot. But yeah, that second night was just absolutely not great. It was the lowest point of the race. I never felt like I would give up or that it was beyond me, but it did feel like, wow, this is not fun. This is really not fun right now. Like this sucks. Like it was just so long and so harsh and just so not fun. So yeah, was only my atmosphere. Oh wow, Carmen, so you did the Granite Dale the second night in the downpour, and it was your favorite. Well, you are badass. I raise my hat to you. That is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have enjoyed that. I do like the Dale. It's one of my favorite segments because it's so unique. But I was happy that I could see it and that it was not too hot this year. Yeah, I mean, Auntie Mama is saying that she's hearing all of the challenges and like of long distance, but it's convincing you to do it. And I mean, that's definitely my goal, right? I mean, this is a cult, and my goal in a cult is to recruit more people. But I like some people do it because they want to suffer, and I think that's fine, and I think there's reason for that we can even talk about it. You know, like some people will turn to alcohol because there's something they want to numb in their life, and some people will turn to ultra running, and I think maybe ultra running is a more productive way to kind of numb some of the pain. I absolutely don't do it for that. My direction is much more, I want the challenge and the adventure and the connection with other people and nature, but there's a lot of valid reason to do that. And for me, what that means is that the pain or the challenges or the part that sucks, like the second night, is not, it's not what I seek, but it's something that I can live with and accept as being part of doing these crazy things. Like doing crazy things like that involve being in the cold sometimes. It involves having blisters sometimes. It involves chafing and like having pain sometimes. And that's, if I can avoid it, you know, if you tell me, Simon, you will never have blisters if you use that pair of socks, I'll say, well, yes, I will use these socks because I don't want to suffer. But if I have blisters, that's not enough to convince me that it's not worthwhile. It makes it worthwhile that you're pushing through that adversity and that you're finding your own limits or what you're capable of. And it's something that is very rewarding to think, wow, I'm badass. Like I went through the night, and it's not because I enjoyed that it was suffering, but I do feel better about myself, and there's a sense of accomplishment that is very important. Mark Ross, thank you for the donation. Thanks for I really appreciate that. And I mean, one of the best experience for me for the race was just meeting so many of you folks out there on the course and saying like, hey Simon, like I signed up for Sedona 125 or Cocodona, like thanks to you. I was like, hey, like call my lawyer, you cannot blame me like that, I'm not responsible. But jokes aside, like I'm very happy to hear that these things are helpful. And as you know, what I preach is exactly what I do. The way I say you should train is the way I train, what has worked for me. And I try to be very transparent, which is about showing that sometimes, you know, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it sucks, but that it's very realistic. I'm not there to raise my own ego. Like obviously what I do I think is amazing, but that's really not the point of showing it. It's just I want to do as much as possible and have as much fun as possible. How many did you average per hour both last year and this year? So Yana is asking for my average mileage. I would need to make the math, but that's actually a loaded question. How many miles on average I'm doing per hour? Because it depends if you're talking about moving miles or not. And I think last year I did only 94 hours total, and I think I slept more last year. So it means that on average I was moving much faster. And comparing some of the segment, I remember jogging much more last year, whereas this year I feel that when I was moving I was probably going on average at like 3 miles an hour, and then when you add the pause and you add the sleeping and these sorts of things, then it's 100 hours for about 250 miles, so it's 2.5 miles an hour, whereas last year was a little faster. But I also think that like the 94 hours you need to remove a little bit more. Like last year I feel I slept probably 8 hours, so it's probably 88 hours, maybe even less than that for 250. So it's closer to a 3 miles an hour plus all of the breaks. So probably like 3.5 miles an hour, which involves that most hours I was jogging a fair amount of that. Yes, there is a Marshall. There will be a full video coming up for Cocodona. Like I think it's going to take me at least like 2 weeks. It depends a little bit if I'm doing Cruel Jewel this weekend. Which is a big question mark like right now, unfortunately. I mean, that's always been the case. Like it depends how fast I'm healing, but I have some tendonitis that is pretty painful in one of my legs, and it's hard to say if this is just an ailment or if it's an injury. And I know that some people out there, apparently they finished the race with both ankle broken or something like that, which I'm like, all right, like you got an x-ray during the race. I highly doubt that, by the way. I don't want to minimize my injury or glorify my injury, but I do think that I might have a slight injury, which if I race this weekend, Cruel Jewel could be an issue. So if I do race Cruel Jewel, then it's going to take me longer to put the movie together. If I have this weekend to work on it, then I think it's going to take about 2 weeks. But this is probably the next movie I'm putting together. I might put out a movie first about how to run your first 50 miles because I'm very close to being ready to release that movie. So I was like, hey, I might as well just release it. But the next racing movie that I'm putting together is actually the Cocodona movie. And then I'm going to go back to, I think I have them right here. I'm going to go back to Leona Divide and Canyon Ultra after that. And I'm going to try to catch up. And then the next race I'm doing is Tahoe. So hopefully I can hit all of these movies together before Tahoe at mid-June. Vision problem coming at altitude. I did not have vision problem. I think what can be common is, especially if you're having like contact lens, can be very difficult, but also a lot of the dust can make it difficult. Last year I had a little bit of pain in my eyes from the smoke in the Flagstaff area. Waterproof gear film. Carmen, I'm sorry to hear you had to drop at Jerome despite being told badass about doing the Dale in the rain. I mean, yeah, waterproof gear. I don't know of any gear that is truly waterproof for me. It's water resistant would be probably the best, and then you need to change to something that is a little bit warmer. Yeah, it must have been difficult, but I mean, you made it 125 in probably the most horrendous condition in the worst segment, so I mean, kudos to you for sure. IT band, yeah, your video was inspired. Oh, hey, which hopefully I say your name well. So you did Mount Fuji 100 mile. Well, congrats to that. That was a pretty badass race, by the way. That's not my top 3 hardest, but probably top 5 maybe. The course was really cool, and I do want to be back to Japan for probably Lake Biwa. This year wouldn't work because it's at the same time as Moab, but Lake Biwa 100 is a hard rock qualifier, and I would really want to go and try it. And I think the people in Japan were super welcoming. Like, I did not travel so much outside of the US for racing, but I did go to Japan. I felt the community there was very positive, and of course there's a language barrier, but everyone was so supportive of trying to communicate with me that I felt very welcome. And obviously they don't know me there, so I was a nobody, and they really welcomed me, so I really appreciate that, and I want to be back to try more race in Japan. Less jogging because of the mud. That is very true on Mingus. If the camera was working better or the video, I should try again. But running down Mingus was a bitch because it's very technical coming down of Mingus. And yeah, like, okay, cross the Dale, climb Mingus Mountain. It was raining. I was shivering. I was close to hypothermia. At Mingus 8 station, I was thinking, okay, like, I should sleep before heading out. But the weather forecast was really bad for the night. And despite the fact that it was raining when I was there was a window that they were saying potentially 1 or 2 hours. And the weather forecast was really bad. We never really know what was going on. Like, I asked someone once, like, at the 8 station, do you think it's going to rain tonight? It's like, 25 to 70%. And the next thing you know, within 5 minutes, it was raining. And Mingus was a little bit similar. They were saying it's going to rain all night. We're saying it's going to die out in 1 hour. But I felt there was a window, and I was able to head out there right before sunset. So we had a few hours to do the technical part of the Mingus descent without the rain during daytime. So we absolutely went for it. I skipped the sleep. I skipped the long rest. I mean, it was still a probably 30-minute rest, but like going for it to make as much mileage as possible. Then eventually nightfall came, and then the rain. And that rain was pretty intense and very, very, very unpleasant. It transformed the trail in the mud fest, and that's probably what you heard a lot of people complain about for good reason. The trail was just retaining a lot of the water, and this became this mud that is, first your feet were wet, but that's the least of your problem. But the mud was caking on your feet, so it became heavy, and it was closer to being like slick mud, like clay. That was super slippery, and sometimes the trail was just a little bit kind of sideways, and then you had on this side it's a double track, and on this side you have like a huge puddle of really cold water, and then here you have this like slightly like slanted mud, and if you're trying to run on that, like at some point your feet will just like slide and you're gonna fall down. So I was walking that whole segment. It was definitely much slower than last year for that segment. But even overall, like when it was not raining, when it was fine weather, I was more prone to walking because of my heel pain than I was last year. Yeah, Cruel Jewels is gnarly, and they forecast rain. Yes, Brad, they do forecast rain at Cruel Jewel, and I think if I do go there, my last like 5 races will have been in the rain. So I haven't been super lucky with weather this year, but that's just life. How do you stay motivated after a race to do more? Yeah, Marshall is asking how I stay motivated to keep doing more. If anything, I feel more motivated to race than to train. And it's been easier for me to line them up and just do another race and another race and another race than if I would say do Cocodona and then I have nothing in my calendar or nothing until like next December or October. Like I'm like, I don't need to train right now. Whereas now I have a next adventure coming up. I mean, Cruise is too soon to train, but then after that, like I want to keep my body in shape, and that's how I stay motivated. And the motivation is very intrinsic to the way I race, which is mostly to enjoy it. Like it's not always fun, it's not always pleasant, but I always enjoy it. I seek race that I want to do, that I'm excited to do, and that's how I stay motivated myself. Peanut butter mud. Yes, peanut. Yeah, the trail was peanut butter mud, but without the tastiness, I would say. But that's how to describe it for sure. Yeah, signing up for a race is very motivating. Exactly. All right, I'm just trying to show you how it was raining when we were out there. And yeah, I do apologize about the technical difficulty. That's something I was fearing a little bit, and I'm gonna train a little bit. But you can see it was already, I was in the day, and that was going down Mingus, and the night was about to start, and that's where like it was still good, relatively speaking. Whoops. Oh, it was working. God damn it. But then it just turned to shit eventually. Let me find you some good clips here. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Oh yeah. Voila, this one should work. Yeah, and that's still relatively good, but you can see, and I know the lighting is not super good, but it was the water would just accumulate on these trails. Like it would not absorb it, and then you had maybe I would say like yay thick of mud always, but sometimes much more than that. And the only good news with that for me was that, as you know, like one of the things that I was struggling a lot with was sleepiness. And the good thing is that when you're close to freezing, you don't feel so sleepy. So that was good, I guess. But yeah, that was just not fun. And it's a long segment. I don't know if anyone has the mileage, but it feels like it lasted forever. Like 15 miles maybe? Like, am I crazy to say 15 mile? Like it felt like 15 mile. It felt like it was never ending, and I was just walking, and I was really getting sick of it, and I know that if they had an aid station like between Mingus and Jerome, and what I'm showing now is Jerome aid station, which is 125. If they had an aid station in between, I think a lot of people would have pulled the plug there, because it was just so miserable, and you just didn't want to continue. But the good news is that once you've reached the Jerome aid station, life is better, because now you know you're going out of the mountain, and everything will be much better. In my case, Nora was going to be at the next aid station, and I was very happy or eager to reach that aid station before morning so we could sleep in the car together. I would change, I would get warm. So there was like hope at the end of the tunnel, and that's really the only thing that kept me going, because it was not fun. Like that segment was, there's nothing redeeming about that segment other than it was eventually finished. But yeah, it really sucked. And then eventually I reached Nora. I'm gonna show you Nora. Nora is cute. But we were also lucky with that, because that segment was usually pretty hot. That's where the 125 start. Well, I mean, you come down Jerome and then you're at Dead Horse, and it was cloud covered, so we were able to make good movement and not get too tired. You can see all of the clouds walking around together, and like that was, for me, that was the best part of the race. It's not just the segment itself and like the trail, but it was just being finally with Nara and being able to break it down made such a huge difference. Like it's a long way between mile 0 and mile 133 that I was doing all by my lonesome, and it was the rain, it was the shit mountain, and like it was not fun, but I had something driving me forward, which was I want to spend time on trail with Nora. And Nora hasn't been able to pace me for a long segment like that since I think Leadville last year. Like it's been almost 8 months because of her injury. So that was our adventure together, and we worked towards that. Like she had to work the rest of the week just like she's working right now, and finally we were together. So I had to reach that, and I had to make sure that we would get as much of the mileage as possible during daytime. So that's why I really want to reach it at nighttime. We sleep a little bit, then we go for the day, and we see these beautiful segments together, and we have the nice view and the nice everything. 17 miles. Yeah, it was 17 mile between. Yes, exactly. So 17 miles is long distance. They run out of gas at Jerome, so there's no fire. Oh my God, Carmen. So Carmen is saying that when she was at Jerome after her lovely time at the Dell and just freezing her ass, there was no gas for the fire at Jerome. And that's something that's true. Like the Jerome aid station, and I felt like that last year also. It's an aid station that's a bit underwhelming. You're like in small tent. And last year it was just so cold. It was windy, and if you don't even have the fire, it's gonna be terrible. So yeah, that's really not great. Oh my God. Yeah, I can understand how you felt absolutely miserable. Luckily, there was still gas for us, and then we were able to warm up. And one of the guy that was at the fire, you might know him. It's Andrew Glaze. So we caught up there. We arrived. I think he arrived a little bit after me or before me, but that's where we split way. Well, Andrew Glaze, of course, a beast, doing 100 mile every week. So absolutely crazy dude, for sure, like a grinder. But yeah, my live chat kind of died. So I'm gonna look on the. Yeah, Andrew Glaze is absolutely amazing. I mean, I will not be running 100 mile every week. Like I'm telling you guys right now, I would get absolutely destroyed. I've done that before a few weeks, and I can do it for a little bit, but it becomes very unproductive and just too much for my body. Like my body cannot handle 100 mile a week. I think for me, like everyone's different, but for me, that's too much training. I cannot take it. So the fact that he's been able to do that for, does someone know, like maybe 5 years now, is absolutely bunker. And obviously he's racing also. I mean, he was there, he was at Monster 300, so absolutely amazing guy and very positive guy. Smile or you're doing it wrong, right? Which hopefully I live by that mantra. Yeah, Marshall, great question. Do you see a lot of people on trail, or at some point it becomes dead? The further you get in the race, the more dead it becomes. And that's something that I did love at Tour des Géants. It's Tour des Géants, which is the other 200 miler I did. It's kind of a shit show for the first day because there's like 2,000 runners and it's just too much. However, after one day, people are spread enough, but you have people around, and then you have your kind of group of 20, 40 people that you're kind of going at the same pace. So you always have people around, but you have the right amount of spread. At Cocodona, there are segments that I didn't see a single soul. Like for 15 miles, I didn't see anyone. And the exception to that is that you do have the 125 runner, for example, so the one that started Jerome, that will be running by you. Oops, yeah, cannot see the chat. Which makes it a little bit less lonely, but they were so much faster anyway that it's like, hey, how are you doing? Okay, bye, take care. So it does get a little bit lonely, and that's also where having a pacer is useful. But the other thing that you can do, and I did do that when I was climbing Eldon by myself, is I found a group of people, or like it was a runner and a pacer. I was like, all right, I'm going to make new friends because I'm falling asleep and I need to talk. So I just made sure that I would catch up to these people, and I was going at their pace, even if it was a little slower than mine. And then I was just really talking loud, like in an annoying, we should ask them if I was annoying, but I felt I was annoying, just to stay awake a little bit and like have a conversation going. That was really helpful because by yourself, it's just a little bit isolating. Oops. Chat disappeared. Okay, there you go. Yeah, it's Marshall's thing. Like it's nice when someone come and like kind of motivates you or remotivate you. And actually, when I was with Andy Glaze at Jerome, there was a Mingus runner that was pulling the plug, which is understandable because he was probably close to cutoff, if not like it would not be possible. But we tried to motivate the guy to keep going. But I think also once you've made up your mind that you're giving up, it's really difficult to change that. Like the seed of quitting is kind of in there, and it's just staying to well, it's there to stay basically, unfortunately. So that will be difficult. Anyway, if we continue the adventure with Nora, and I'm trying at the same time to put some footage, then after the Deer Underpass is one of the best segment, and it's Sedona. And Sedona is a place that, like, for us has always been kind of a little bit special, because I mean, we've been a few time there hiking, and it's just so lovely, Sedona. If you've never been, like, even outside of the race context, you should absolutely go there. The red rocks, the color, it's not just the red rocks, but it's one of the aspects, and you can see the earth is a different color, and you have cacti that will also be super. I don't know, it's just such a lovely place to be. You can see all the green, and you see Sedona in the background, so slowly making our way there. And we were still moving pretty well, running, or at least like kind of jogging at 12-minute miles a lot of the time. It was absolutely great, and we had a lovely time. It was tiring though, and last year when I arrived at Sedona, even though it was the middle of the afternoon, I just couldn't take it anymore, and I had to sleep. This year I didn't want to do that, and we're gonna get to the big segment that we need to talk about, which is the new segment of the race, which was from Sedona all the way to Foxborough. So that's a segment that is totally different from the last few years, or the last edition, where we used to go to a place with Shelby Hills. I'm sure like at the end it's kind of close to each other, but the way we get there is different. It used to be, I don't even know the name, I'm sorry, but now it's the Hangover Trail. And the Hangover Trail is a trail that I had done with Nora a few times before, and when we're in Sedona and we don't know what to do, we either do the Hangover Trail ourselves, or the Wilson Mountain, I think is the name, which we think is absolutely gorgeous. Like you have the nice kind of oh my god, we already passed Sedona. Okay, I see. So that's Jeff, by the way. We met him, and Jeff was huge help for us, which actually helped us have Nora pace me. So I have to say thank you to Jeff and to Greg. But what happened is that we had to have the car for Nora available at the Foxborough, but she had, of course, to be dropped at the Dead Horse. And then there was different ways to do that, either have a ride before. But what we ended up is Jeff, and I guess it's Greg also that helped him, took the car from Dead Horse and drove it to Foxborough to drop it there, and then they did their own thing. So that was absolutely clutch. That really made it possible for Nora to pace me, because she was a one-man crew, a one-man pacer. So that was great. But now we're actually leaving Sedona, and we're going on that new segment. And it's absolutely gorgeous, but you want to do that during the daytime. Like, not... Jeff, well, he's not so bad. Good runner. Oh, yeah, Jeff is a good runner. For people that don't know Jeff at all, Jeff is from Florida. And in my long haul video, he's featured a little bit, but not so much, because he was way too fast. I can't remember his time, but I think he did the sub 20 hours, and like that's just Jeff. Like, he's a really good runner, a really fast runner. Next time I would be happy for him to pace me, but he had other things that he was doing. I think he was doing the live feed for the finisher line. So he caught some of the winners of the race on camera, so that's him filming. He was also at Fort Toddle volunteering, and then I think he did Grand Canyon over the weekend. So he had other adventure, but just his help was absolutely appreciated. Yes, okay, so yes, Jeff is a 5-time long haul finisher, exactly, and is a great runner, and he's a good friend, so really appreciate him. Greg was indeed everywhere. Greg was pacing a few people, and it was just all over the place. And it's true, because when I was going to the finish line, I was like, hey, that's Greg. So I knew him before, but I didn't know him as well, which was absolutely great. Would the Sedona 125 be a good first 100 miles, since it's such a generous cutoff? Okay, Mark W is asking if Sedona 125 is a good 100 mile. That is such a great question. I'm curious in the chat, has anyone done that this year or prior year, using Sedona 125 as a first time race? And I think that's a question I don't necessarily have the answer for sure. However, my intuition is that the answer is yes. It would be actually a pretty interesting choice for first one, because you have 75 hours to do 100 and oops, I'm gonna put the footage. 75 hours to do 125 miles, which is generous. It's really giving you the time to race your own race, and that makes a huge difference. If you're tired, you can sleep. If you want to change your shoes, you can change your shoes. And that's great. There are things that make it a little tricky as a first time race, which is some of the aid stations are pretty far apart. You will have to deal with pretty hot weather around Sedona, but also very cold weather up the Cocodona plateau after, well, for us it's 180, but I guess for that is the after mile 60 or 70. So dealing with extreme in terms of temperature makes it a little bit difficult. Long aid station makes it a little bit difficult, but overall I think having 75 hours makes it like an interesting choice. So I think it's a good choice personally. There's other races I would probably recommend before that, but I don't think it's a non-beginner friendly. The segment though on the hangover, if you end up doing it at night and someone mentioned it, like you will get lost and that will make it a little more challenging. But other than this segment, I don't think it's necessarily a super technical course. What I hear though is that when we're up on the Cocodona plateau, the course between the 125 and the 250 is different because of the owl, and we got the dirt road and you guys had the trail, which was apparently very annoying, and that's something to keep in mind that will slow you down a lot. But you have 75 hours, so as long as you have like the mental grit of like I'll keep going no matter what, I think you're going to be good. I really think you're going to be fine. I'm just trying to catch up some footage that Nora had. So I have more footage of the hangover trail that I really want to show you actually. Nora GoPro. It's gonna be... Oh wow, she took so much. That's awesome. Okay. Here you go. All right, let's look at the question for this. Yeah, so Brad, that's a great suggestion actually. So Brad is saying that probably the friendliest 100-mile course would be an hourly format or something that is around the track. It can be tricky actually to do that because the danger with an hourly, or like let's say like you have like 48 hours and you do the distance you want, is that it's easy to say, well, like I'm just not gonna do 100 miles. So you really need to come in with like I'm gonna do 100 mile. The other aspect is that you're trading, and that's what we did for Nora, right? Like we had our small loop, and if you haven't seen the movie, like please have a look at the Nora's first 100 mile that she did early March. We ended up doing like 0.6 miles loop. Logistically, super simple. You will always have the gear that you need when you need it, and you don't have to worry about that at all. So that's great. However, it's boring, and there's a mental aspect of doing something that is very repetitive. And at least for me, I mean, even I had done a lot of 100-miler before, right? And doing it with Nora at some point, it just felt so stupid. Like, why are we doing that? Like, this is just so boring that it can make it a little bit difficult. I think the way I usually recommend it is, how many 100-miler are you going to race in your life? You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 50. Like, unless you're actually going to do like 100-miler, and even then, I think every 100 mile should be something that is special and something that you're looking forward to. The excitement is something that is you shouldn't underestimate it. By the way, that's the hangover trail, so that's how gorgeous it is right now, right there, if you're, you know, not in the middle of the night. And then finding the path can be a little bit tricky. You probably don't even see it on the footage, but there will be white dots here and there. Yeah, there was one here. That you can see very easily during the day, and you can kind of guess where the trail is going. But if you're in the middle of the night, like, you're very likely going to be lost, which is just not it's just not fun. Yeah. So but that's not the worst segment of this section. I'm just gonna try to find the footage that's maybe a little more gnarly, because sometimes it was pretty steep, and the rock itself was totally grippy, so it was not nearly yet. Yeah, okay, that's a good one. It was not nearly as bad as you would like that would look. But if you're scared of height, you would definitely feel that a little bit. Here we go. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So for example, we were climbing that, and it's hard to show it on camera, but this is pretty steep, and that's where the cameraman was actually sitting, and then we will go in that direction, and then it goes just kind of straight up, and it's pretty steep. Sometimes you're walking on something, you see this is slanted a little bit. If it was wet, it would be a little scary, and you can see how my ankle are very bent, which was actually painful, and like I could feel my blisters in my small toe, and then you're just going up straight, and that's a 125 runner, that even at the 125 they were getting pretty tired here. So not the easiest segment. This is annoying. But then it was relatively short-lived, I would say, that kind of area. Let me check. I've seen some chat. There's worse. Okay, Jay is asking if Leadville is a good race to prepare for these longer effort. It's a good race to prepare for altitude. I don't think it's the best race to prepare for longer distance, because Leadville is actually pretty challenging in my mind. And the reason it's challenging, the course is not that challenging, but it is only 30 hours. And the cutoff, especially going inbound and outbound at Twin Lake, if you know the course, so mile 40-ish and mile 60-ish, it's pretty tight. You got to be running. And that's just a different tempo than a 200 mile, where you just got to keep moving. And I wouldn't say it's taking your time, but it's definitely much more about being consistently moving, whereas Leadville, it's about going balls to the wall for a relatively long period of time, to keep ahead of cutoff. I think there's other effort that would help more. Like if you do like youre 100 mile, I think youre 100 mile is way harder than Cocodona, even though it's a 100 mile only. You have 42,000 feet of gain. It's at 10,000 feet of altitude or above most, if not all of the time. I think that's a great race to prepare for these efforts. You have 52 hours, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually pretty tight, and you just have to keep moving consistently, and you have to start thinking about sleeping strategy. Like it's unproductive, I think, for a race like youre to think that you won't sleep at all. Potentially you're able to do that, but for most people, they will plan to sleep a little bit, and that help you think a little bit more like a 200 miler. And you will have weather element where you will need to change your shoes, so you're thinking a little bit more like that. The cold night up on the mountain pass will be cold, and the day could be hot, so these elements are a little bit closer to a 200 miler. Does the GPS not help enough in the night? So Mark is asking if the GPS doesn't help enough for navigation on these places. The thing is that it's too accurate or precise that you would be off by a few feet, that it would be difficult, and you can't always look at your watch, but of course it's helping, and being able to use your watch is super important. I definitely use it, and I think the watch is something that you need to be able to use very well, know how to upload GPX file, and know how to use it, have it very easily accessible, so that you're just flipping your wrist and now you know, hey, I'm actually off course. But it won't help you, like for example, oh, you cannot see that, right? Okay, of course. So for example, if you have a GPS watch and the trail goes here, the GPS watch cannot tell you that you should be here or you should be there. And if this was like maybe a 4, 5, 6 feet cliff, it makes a difference, because you might not be able to get back up here afterwards, and the watch won't be able to tell you that level of precision. So it's the watch will help you know that this is the overall direction, and that the trail actually goes up at some point, which then you would guess it's probably there. But the precision won't help you more than that. It will tell you, like, if you keep going in the bushes here, it will tell you like, hey, like you should have turned. But where should you have turned? Should you have turned here on the rock face? Or is there a path here that you can see? And actually in this case, the real path is this here. And during the day, for me, that's obvious without seeing the sign, because I have enough experience that this is where you should walk. But someone who's not used to that, or if it's the night, you will see this person here maybe with a headlamp, and you might think, oh, like the path is going directly here. And in this case, it actually probably is possible. Like this is probably a big step here, but it's probably feasible. But that's course cutting, and like unless you're apparently a famous Instagram person where you can do that, typically this is frowned upon to course cut, and you should actually go where the trail is, which is in this case here. Hey, someone is doing Javelina as a first 100 mile. I think that's a great choice. 30 hours is a little short in general, but I think it's a good course for that. The thing that you really have to be careful is the heat. Javelina is hot as balls. And if you're used to that, like especially like if you live in Phoenix, you're going to be like, well, Javelina is not so bad. And like that, you're right, that's not so bad. But I think it's a great place. That was my first trail 100 mile, and I had a great experience there. I think it's a good in between where you do have a good sense of adventure and excitement. Yes, from the trail itself, but it's 20-mile loops, but also just the vibrant race. Like you have the pros, like it's a golden ticket. You have the best of the best. You have David Roche who's gonna lap you all the time, and it's like, wow, that's exciting. And then you have people in costume, so I think that helps make it more exciting, and that's a good 100 mile for that. And then the logistic is much simpler because your crew will be at Javelina HQ. You can have a new pacer every lap, not at the beginning, but eventually, and then you have all of the gears that you need, and you don't need to carry so much because it's not going to be so cold at night. Like maybe you bring a layer, maybe a headlamp, and that's about it. So that also is making it a little bit easier. But 30 hours is 30 hours, right? Like you cannot sleep or not too much, and you got to keep moving. But I think it's a good 100 miles, so it's a great suggestion actually. Long haul is 32 hours. It could be, and if that's the case, I would agree that long haul is actually a solid one for a first 100 miler. It's super flat. It's not very technical. It can be hot, and very often also it can be muddy and difficult, but I think it was a great community over there, so I was very happy with that race. All right, let's move along, guys. Okay, yes, so you can see like the view was absolutely so freaking cool. This is the worst footage to show it, but like it was so cool. It was so gorgeous at sunset, and we made it just in time. Like the sunset was happening and we were getting out of that area. Which was great, and I was starting to feel tired and also a little bit sad because I knew that this was the last few miles that I was spending with Nora. So as soon as we got out of that area, then you go, I think it was a dirt road, I can't remember, but we just climb, and we're at Foxborough Ranch. And the rest of the race is, I think, not as exciting, but you can see that the segment that I did with Nora was from Dead Horse, where I was like starting to be at my limit. Like after coming down Mingus was probably my lowest point, and definitely the hardest segment this year was coming down Mingus, except for Carmen, unfortunately, except if you were stuck in the Dell in the second night with the rain. That was probably the worst segment, arguably. But for me, like the experience that I had was coming down Mingus on that same night in the mud. But after that, it was such a lovely day with Nora. So many miles, so many smiles, so many nice views. It was absolutely great. And then we made it out to the Cocodona Plateau. And last year, the Cocodona Plateau, I'm just going to switch to my face, guys. I'm tired of playing with that. If I see good footage that you should see, I'll show it. But last year going up the Cocodona Plateau was probably my worst, like that, the third night already. I was just so tired, so sleepy. And I saw some influencer climbing, cutting the course and the coverage. Yeah, and I saw some. Yeah, okay. Kimberly is saying that some influencer climbing, cutting the course. I am surprised that they are allowed to do that, and they're allowed to like pretty blatantly post that they were course cutting, and that this is acceptable. I don't feel super comfortable with that. Like I don't like punishing people, and like it's not the end of the world, and like come on. But at the same time, like rules are there for everyone, and I don't think anyone should have like a free pass to just course cut. Of course, if it's by mistake, that's one thing. That like you would lose the trail at Hangover is kind of understandable, and like then you just try to find your way out. So that I understand, right? But if you're deliberately saying like, hey, it will be easier for me to just like climb directly up there, you're course cutting, and that's like directly against the rule. And like if you post about it, like what gives? Like you can't just say that you're cheating, right? Like that doesn't feel super right. But I don't really care enough to care. It's just bizarre a little bit. But how was the Hangover Trail for you? Yeah, Hangover Trail for me was probably the highlight positive of the course. It was the last segment that I was with Nora. It was the most beautiful, the most scenic. The temperature felt pretty good. The sunset was coming, and I like these technical trail. And I was not so tired that I didn't feel confident about my footing and everything. And I was never worried about knowing where the trail is because we had done it before, because I could see the trail. But I can see how like what was the best segment for me could be the worst segment for some people, especially if you have fear of height, or if you're lost at 2 a.m. and it's like it's your third night and you're tired, you're sleepy, and you can't find the trail, and it's very frustrating and scary a little bit. I can see how that can be an extremely negative choice, and they changed it. Last year was a different segment, which personally I didn't like, not because it was sketchy or anything. I felt it was a boring segment before. For me, that was a good change, but I wonder what they will do, because I know that some people really didn't like it, and I think it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. When I was asking people, hey, what did you think of the Hangover Trail? And they either loved it or hated it, and the commonality is that the one that hated it very often did it at night, and the one that loved it most likely did it during daytime. But you don't really have that choice. Like if you're at Sedona and it's close to nighttime, like are you just gonna sleep the full night there? Like are you gonna waste like 8-10 hours just so you can do it during daytime? No, you won't. Like you have to keep going. So you don't really have the luxury of deciding when you're gonna be there. And I think a bulk of the people probably had to do it at night, unfortunately. And I do feel sorry for these people, because they missed the nice view, and that was probably a very unpleasant segment. On top of that, if it's raining at the same time, like I don't know if these ruck are still as sticky when it's wet, but I would have felt a little bit uncomfortable, especially when it's like pretty slanted at like almost 45 degrees and it's wet, and like you're wondering if you're just gonna slip, because if you slip, like there's nothing for you to hold on to. Like it's just rock, and you're just gonna tumble down, and that would be problematic. But as far as I know, nobody got injured there, but some people did get really scared, and that's something I do respect. We have different tolerance for that kind of risk, and as you guys know, like I run next to a cliff, and I'm absolutely not worried, because I know what I can do with my feet. I still have to be careful, and I am respectful of the height and of the danger, but in this case I knew that there was no danger. But for some people, I think it was not a pleasant experience. If you're not yeah, right, exactly. Like if you're not sponsored or getting podium, like, and you're course cutting, or like someone is muling for you, like, yeah, like don't do it. But at the same time, like, I film, guys. Like I film so much, have so much footage, and have so much evidence of people cheating, that like I'm like whatever. Like people muling at Cocodona, like that's definitely not something you're supposed to do. Muling is when your pacer is carrying your stuff. But like I see it, like you have people that have like a backpack that is basically empty, and then the night falls and there were no aid station in between, and all of a sudden they have all of these layers, warm layers, and magically the huge backpack that their like pacer had now is empty. It's like, oh yeah, I wonder where your clothing were. It's like, okay, like it's annoying me because I had to carry everything, but I don't care. Like I really don't care. If it's true that if you would win the race cheating, I would have a bigger issue with that, but otherwise just like it's okay. Like there's been time actually like that I've removed footage from my movie because I don't want to be a snitch, or like so yeah, it's little things sometimes, like like you course cut, like I don't want to show it. I don't want anyone to be in trouble. Is it annoying sometimes? Yeah, but like it's fine. But I do find it's strange that some races will be very strict about enforcing rules, and some races will be very whatever. But not the end of the world. Like I have other trouble in my life that I will just kind of forget about it. That's totally fine. Also, maybe you just can't understand where they're running to. Yeah. Maybe people just lost it. No, I'm not doing Badwater this year, but do you know who's doing Badwater that was there? And like I I am susceptible to being a fanboy myself. Jeff Peltier is doing Badwater this year, and Jeff Peltier was there with his wife Audrey. They were crewing Jeff Guarmeyer, you know who I'm saying, right? But he was also doing the Flagstaff Crest, so he's racing Badwater. And because we had done it before, I had reached out to Jeff and said like, hey, like if you have any question on on the logistic of Badwater, we're really happy to help and answer these questions. So we chat a little bit, and we're gonna try to support them, like not physically because I have other things going on, but I wish him all the best for Badwater. It's not a race that I'm planning to do again. I think the logistic of the crewing is just so much that it was not a good experience in that sense. So it was a good experience to have like your crew with you so close together, but it's so much work and so much money that I'm not planning anytime soon to do it again. So if you want to apply for it, you can have my spot. No problem there. So the Hangover Trail for me was my favorite portion of the course, no question there. And my favorite moment racing in a long time, like being with Nora in that segment, like it felt just lovely to be back together there. And then eventually we reached Foxborough. It was night time already, so we slept in the car. And of all the moment in the race that I was like, maybe I want to quit, was definitely when I was in the car and I woke up again. It was probably, I don't know, I want to say 11 or 12. And I was like, I think I'm supposed to go now, but it's just so cozy now. I'm with Nora. I don't want to go. And I also know what is coming up, and I know that what's coming up is a bunch of dirt road in the cold, and that was my worst segment last year. Last year I was like just falling asleep every mile, and then I would sleep on a rock for 5 minutes, but by the time like 5 minutes passed, I was shivering because it was so cold that I had to go again, and I was never able to get like to crawl myself out of sleepiness because of that. That was just a very unpleasant, very, very, very unpleasant segment for me. And I was like, okay, I have to go out there now. So that was not fun. And that's a commonality, I would say, from mile 180 all the way to mile almost, well, 2-4 total at least, which is like 230, which is, it's not great segment. It's just very repetitive. There's not much to see. It can be much colder, and it feels like I'm close to the finish, but at the same time I'm so far. Like I still have a day and a half to go with this crap, and I feel that all of the cool stuff is behind me. Like the cool stuff was the Hangover, Sedona, it was to be with Nora, and I'm just like working towards it. I don't want it to feel like work. So that, I don't know. I hope there was a nicer segment that they could implement there, but I know it's not going to be the case. So if I do it again, I know I'll have to deal with it again. But that was not a pleasant moment for me for sure. Since it was single track. Okay, so did I find that the section out of Moons was harder since it was single track this year? I have to admit that I don't know how different it was compared to last year, because all of these segments, so that was just asking if section out of Moons, which is mile 190, so between Foxborough and Moons, it's just dirt road, and it's just like, it's a huge sea, like it's like, we don't need to go there. We're coming back anyway. Why do you do that to us? Like, couldn't the race be 240 miles and we just skip that segment? It is like that, but yeah, that just felt bad. Then you arrive at Moons. And just before going at the segment after Moons, I think that's one of the things that actually was disappointing for me this year, was that the Moons aid station, and maybe it will change again for next year. And again, like Aravaipa is doing a great race and it's an absolutely gorgeous race. It used to be that Moons aid station was indoor. It was a huge aid station, and there are a few aid stations like that for me feels more like a live base, like you have at Tour des Gens, where you have a bunch of beds, huge aid station, you're inside, that's where you're going to charge your stuff, and like kind of really reset, as opposed to a more aid station where you get some food and you get going. And Moons was one of them. Moons was a major aid station where every year I slept there probably 2 hours. But this time, because I think the building was in renovation, it was an outdoor aid station a little further along the way, and like the beds were intense, which I heard was really cold. Again, it's not their fault. Like, they did what they could with what they had, so I really respect that. But that made it more difficult but I knew that, so that's why I slept at Foxborough in the car. But Moons was the place I was aiming for before. Like, that's where I would sleep for the night. This time I couldn't do that because I knew it would not be a good aid station. The next aid station or live base would be Fort Tull. So that made it a little bit more difficult. From Moons to I think it's Kelly Canyon. Honestly, I don't remember it being so different than the past few years, but maybe it's totally different. But it's just kind of this repetitive segment where I think there was some single track, but I think there was roads also. And it was not necessarily the same trail for the the 125 and the 250. They did much more mileage than we did, and they kind of like, it would split ways and then it would come back and split ways, so it was very confusing. But it's kind of a generic direction. I didn't find particularly difficult. I was struggling, but not because the course itself was difficult, and I don't remember it being technical or too rocky, whereas I did hear a lot of people that did the 125 saying that once you're on the Cocodona Plateau, there's a lot of single tracks where you have rocks that are maybe like softball size, and it was just very strenuous and tiring mentally and physically to run that. I didn't think that was the case for us, so it was totally fine. But yeah, I was tired by then. Then you reach Kelly's aid station. I was sleepwalking. Oh yeah, I was sleepwalking so much by then. I think people must have passed me and felt like Simon is such a jerk. He didn't even say hi back. But I was just like I don't know, I was out of it totally. And then I was gunning for Tuttle, where I knew that Jeff would be, so I was very much excited to go there and kind of sleep a little bit and reset. What's the factor for race selection? And this is yeah. Ken is asking, what's my motivation for race selection? I think I did a movie about that some time ago, but for me the most important factor is kind of the X factor, which is like, how excited am I about something? And it can be various reasons. Like a race like Youre I will love because it's crazy elevation gain and crazy nature. A race like Javelina I love because it's special because of the more costume aspect of it. Cocodona, I think it's the community aspect of it and the distance that you feel from a point to point, where you start in the desert and you end up at a place like Eldon. I always or almost always go for 100-miler that have good reputation, that will have good scenery. Ideally, I want something that is not repetitive, so not loose, but it's not the end of the world if it is. But you have to find out for yourself, like, what kind of race do you enjoy? Some people will love to have a lot of elevation gain and have a lot of mountain, and that means that you're walking more, and I like that. But some people will also feel like, well, I'm not running 100 mile, I'm just hiking 100 mile, and it takes forever, so I would rather have something that's a little faster, and that's up to you. I enjoy when not so much of it is on road, definitely not pavement road, but even just dirt road like a Cocodona annoys me a little bit because it feels like been there, done that, but it's not a deal breaker. So yes, that's how I kind of choose my race. And I think I'm at the point where there's races that I've done that I love, and it's a little bit like when you go to the restaurant and you move to a new city, and then you will go to the restaurant and you will of course try new things at first, but eventually you will find a restaurant that you really like, and then the question is, all right, I really like this restaurant, but there are so many I haven't tested, so should I go to a new restaurant and potentially find something that is even better? Or should I go to the one that I know I like? And I try to switch it up a little bit, because if I stop discovery, then I will never find something that is better. But at the same time, if this is a really good restaurant to begin with, like whatever I'm trying will be worse. And there are races like that I try to come back almost every year. Like for me, Zion 100 mile is a race that I absolutely love. Cocodona, I think, will be part of that rotation as long as I can do it and take the time off. Like I love the reunion aspect of it. Javelina I really like also, and I mean, I think you can see it, like it's all kind of close-ish for me, so it's practical in terms of driving there, like it's not a big hustle. And then there are races that I would want to do again, but definitely will never be part of like my normal rotation. Tour des Géants was such an amazing experience that's why I'm doing Swiss 360 this year, which is it's also in the Alps, but it's the Swiss Alps instead of the Italian Alps, but it's point to point in the Alps, 200 miler, 80,000 feet of gain. So it's a very similar race, and it's kind of the little brother / big brother that you have. Like if you do Tour des Géants, either you do it again or you do that race, and like seeking that kind of adventure aspect is pretty important for me. All right, if we move on to continue to the race, and I'm sorry if it's repetitive, but yeah. So then we reach Fort Tuttle, and then it finally feels like, all right, you're at Fort Tuttle, and I don't know the mileage that you have, but like you have Walnut, Wildcat, and some Trinity Heights. Like you have 3 aid station left, and then you're there. Like it feels like finally I'm towards the end. So took my time at Fort Tuttle, slept a little bit, ate a lot. Pasta, I mentioned it. Like that's one of the things that really revived me. Like there was the lasagna up Mingus, and there was the pasta bowl at Fort Tuttle. I think I had 3 or 4 bowls with meatballs, and I was just like eating it, sleeping a little bit and eating a little bit more, and then I went going. And that segment, it takes forever. Like from Fort Tuttle to Walnut, I don't know the mileage again. I want to say it's 16 mile, but it just takes forever, and by that time you're really slow. Last year I was able to run a lot of it, but this year I was just mostly walking, single track. It's like, at least it's not dirt road, but mostly you don't have so much view, or it's kind of repetitive. You're kind of in this valley a little bit, and you're walking in the wrong direction. It's like Eldon is just over there, and you're just going in the wrong direction forever. But I kept going, and I knew that my friend Jeff had found me a pacer for the next segment after Walnut, and I was very excited about that. So I was trying to reach that as soon as possible. But towards the end, the nightfall came in, and I was just like, that was it. Like the energy was gone. Like I was over. I had to sleep very often. I was sleepwalking, and it was really difficult. And when I came in the aid station at Walnut, like I saw the guy, like I saw Gray. I was happy to see him. I was like, dude, like, I'm sorry that at first I was late on the forecast. I was like, dude, I gotta sleep right now. Like I can't do anything. And then we found a bed cot. Like I slept, I want to say 1 hour at least, if not an hour and a half. Because I was just so tired, and we went together, and that was a segment even with the sleep, I was not able to kind of snap myself out of it. Like, yeah, I was feeling better after sleeping so much, but I just felt like I had to go, and thanks to him talking to me and getting to know each other a little bit more, and him being there for me and choosing the path that we were going, I was able to do the next 7 mile or something to the next aid station. But that was not me at my best. Like I really struggled, and at that point, like I just wanted to be done. Like I wanted to be done with the race, and I felt like, look, if you tell me the end of the race is right here, right now, I would be very happy. I would not say I missed anything. I was like, yeah, thank you, give me the buckle, let's go home. Like I just want to sleep right now. Like pain was everywhere, especially in my heel, so difficult. But at least the rain was over, right? Like so the temperature got better as we went along, whereas usually like up Cochino Plateau is pretty cold, whereas now it felt like it was decent temperature. Thanks, DRL Dogs. Yeah, so we saw each other at Camp W Mons. Okay. Yes, Camp W, I was out of it. Absolutely. Oh, it's Marcel. Yeah, yes. Yeah, so I saw Marcel. Yeah, I was totally out of it at Camp W. I was just like, that was also, I think I went at the table. I barely remember coming in the aid station. Like I kind of remember vaguely, like I arrived at the aid station, but like it's very vague. I just took a seat and like asked for some food and just slept there. So thanks for the support. I was really out of it. I was feeling much better at Moons, I would say, in comparison. Like at Moons, I just wanted to kind of go out of it. I took my time, but like I was much better. I don't know the Racing the Planet. Can you tell me, Joanna, what this is? Would you ever do a race like Racing the Planet? I have no clue what that is. I feel like I should know, but I don't. So if you let me know. Tim Thompson gets the clearance to do Mammoth 200. When is Mammoth? Mammoth is what, September or something like that? I think in terms of scheduling, it just absolutely would not work out for me for Mammoth 200. That's a race I would be curious to try. Any first 200 miler, especially that I feel that they have not organized race before, it's an invitation for a disaster. I like challenge, and I guess sometimes I should try to the first year, but I think that's something that I would consider more for the coming years, because my kind of super exciting race for this year is Swiss 380, which is like way badass. Like I don't know how Mammoth is, I don't know the course, I heard it's gonna be nice and all of these things, but Swiss 360 is gonna be such an epic adventure that there's really not much that could convince me to skip that. So maybe the year afterwards, it's something that I would consider. I don't know how I can convince them to give me a place, but yeah. We're speaking of Jeff Petty. I think he's doing it, and the names for Mammoth 200 like are big names for sure. I don't think so many people are doing it also, which is one of the things that I did enjoy at Cocodona. Like I felt really part of the community there. I don't want a race where we're like just 20 people. Selected elite influencer or something like that. So yeah, I would want something that is a little bit more. Can I ask you, bro? Yes, Vincent. Hello, where are you from? Have you been in Florida? Yeah, Vincent from Miami. Yes, I have been to Florida, and where I'm from, well, I'm from Montreal, Canada, but right now we live in Carlsbad, California, which is where I'm racing so much in the Southwest, Arizona, California. That's driving distance for us. So yeah. Why is so many crazy little grunt? Okay, interesting. How do you mute someone? All right, so we'll keep moving because I don't know how to plug that. All right, but yeah, after Walnut, we went to Wildcat, and unfortunately, Greg was kind of leaving there, so I was really worried after Wildcat that that would be like I would just really struggle. But we stayed at that aid station for a very long time, and I felt so much better, so much better after staying there for 30 minutes. Actually, I was on the live stream a little bit, like we were able to fix that, and I was kind of revived a little bit from all of the food that I took and taking a longer break than usual. And then the motivation did come from, it's last push to the finish. Like there's only one thing between me and seeing Nora, and it's climbing Eldon, and I can do that. This year the course was different. I don't know if they're going to do it like that for the future, but we used to go up where it's like steep like this and then go down a road which was a little bit more mellow, whereas we kind of went on the other way of the mountain, climbed up gradually. We were on the ridge, which was gorgeous because for me that was exactly at sunrise. It wasn't too cold this year. It wasn't too windy. I had too windy clothing, if anything, and I was just able to keep cruising, and I stuck with a few people that really helped me, but eventually I was so strong that I just decided I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna keep going, and it felt great. At the time I thought I had like a lot of time, a lot of buffer to do my sub 100 hours, so that's a surprise for later. But yeah, I reached the peak. It was sunrise, and I decided I'm just gonna like sit down, relax, and just like a nice little break, my last break before the end of the adventure. And something to mention is like, you've been moving for 4 days or 5 days, and like that's been your life. Everything was about just movement. Just it's the now. It's not work. It's not stress. It's not paying the bills. It's not anything else but just being here with the people around me in nature, doing something that I enjoy, and in vacation. Like it feels great. And when the end of the adventure is so close, like, you both really want to be done. You really want to lay down and sleep and relax and hug Nora. But at the same time, you don't want it to be done. Like you're like almost like, oh, I wish there was like one more day of hiking around Sedona. Like, can you do that for me? Like, Grace, can it be a 300 miler? And we're going to do 50 miles around Sedona. It's going to be pretty chill. So I was feeling a little bit nostalgic, and I just wanted kind of taking it in a little bit on top of Eldon on the ridge where it was not windy, because it is windy at some place, and just relaxing, which was a very special moment for me. Like, it was time to reflect, and you've seen it in my Badger movie. Like, it's been rough time for us a little bit, like bad news after bad news coming in, and being able to be by myself all alone. Like, it was quiet and it felt absolutely great. And then eventually I had to stand up and say, okay, like, I guess I should finish this race, right? So we start coming down, and whereas we used to go up that way, well, now we're going down this way, and that was pretty annoying. I don't know that I actually enjoyed that part of the change. Like, I wish we were going down the road like we were before. It would add mileage, but it was just, it's so late in the game, and it becomes technical where you have these huge steps coming down. Normally you would maybe even be able to run that and not worry too much, but when you're so tired and your legs are so painful, like, it really felt like, wow, I'm just gonna break my ankle now. Like, that's where I hurt myself, and like, my season is over. And why? Just for the last 5 miles, and it should already be over because my watch is already saying we're past 250. So it felt way longer than it probably was, but at least the sun was coming up. It was getting warmer and warmer, which is kind of refreshing a little bit. And that's where at some point I was like, hey, I want to do sub 100 hour. And it's not even that I redid the math. Like, my math was wrong the whole time when I was thinking I can finish until 11 in the morning. But then I look at my watch, and my watch would say, I don't know, like 98 hours and 30 minutes. Like, wait, I only have like an hour and a half to finish the race? Like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't work with my math. And then I redid it, and I was like, oh, wow, like, I totally got it wrong. Okay, like, how far are we to the finish? And I couldn't know exactly how long it was, but I was figuring it was about 5 miles, and I had probably an hour and a half. I was like, oh, like, I'm moving at like 2 miles, maybe 3 miles an hour on average. Like, that's tight, and I don't want to finish in 100 hour in 1 minute. So I just went for it as fast as possible. balls to the walls, and as soon as it was not technical, I took off and I was running, and I think I was going like probably 10-minute miles for most of it. If you've seen me on the live stream, when I was at the aid station, my guess is like for 2 minutes, and mostly it took time because I took time to remove my layers, take care of my poles, and then I was gone running running ups and downs. It really didn't matter. I was possessed, and I just really wanted to be done, and it was painful, but I just was gunning for it. And that was it. And then I arrived there. I finished under my 100 hour with 30-minute buffer, so I totally miscalculated again, but I would rather be 30 minutes too early than like 1 minute too late. And it was a great feeling. Nora couldn't be there at the finish line, like we had to meet later, but yeah, it was absolutely great. And then that's where even like the fun almost begins. When I was done with the race, that finish line is great, and what you will see a lot, of course, is like the bridge of the last finisher, but the good vibe and like staying there to welcome people happens throughout. I was there most of the day that day. I think I went back to the Airbnb, dropped some of my things, took a shower and changed, and took my blister video, if you haven't seen it, where I pop it by accident and then kind of pissing off. But then I was back and I barely slept. Like I probably slept 1 hour that day all in all, but mostly I was at the finish line talking with people, meeting some of you guys that did different distance or did the 250. And you get so close to people that you're racing in these long events that you're really wondering, like, how did Dee do, for example? And Dee is my friend that lost his, or it's not him that lost the drop bag unfortunately, but that didn't receive his drop back at Crown King. Like we were leapfrogging the whole race, and he was behind me and he was struggling at night, and I was like, I hope he's doing well. And then I'm checking on people like Westblade, which is like a hero of 200 for me, and all of my friends that were there, and like kind of trying to catch them at the finish line, be able to give them a big hug and like talk about, hey, Mingus really sucked, huh? Or like the Dell at night was so bad, right? And kind of already reliving the experience that we had together, and that was true all the way through the evening, where we went for dinner, catching up with people, and then eventually coming back the following day for the golden hour. And that's it. I mean, it was a great race, and that's why I'm probably going to sign up again next year. It really depends on the on work for me. But yeah, most likely I'm going to put my name in 1 week from now, and I do encourage people. With that being said, that's my adventure. I'm going to put a movie together. I'm going to wrap up with the Q&A. If you have any questions, ask them down, because we're going to say bye very soon. What I will be curious, and you can even leave that in the comments, I'm really curious, what do you think of this format? Obviously, I had difficulty with showing the media. I kept crashing, so maybe I'm going to try a few things by myself. But like, do you appreciate like trying to show some of the raw footage, this more like freestyle discussion, answering question, or if you have suggestion to improve that, I would be really curious to work on that format, because I think for me that's a great way to connect with you guys, to give you a little bit more the raw experience, like how I felt. That goes a little bit beyond just showing you a movie like what's pretty and these sorts of narrative. But of course I'm still going to do a full movie, and like I'm going to bring that out as soon as possible. Also, I mean, before I forget, like, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for saying that these things are inspiring when we meet in person. I'm very happy. Thanks for the donation. We had very generous donation today. I really appreciate that. As you know, the money goes, to supporting the channel, is buying filming gear, is buying freaking battery. Eventually we'll be buying me a second puffy, so I don't have to carry it the whole way, and like taking these coaching course so that I can make like better video and more informed video. I think I have good information, but like I think it's always good to work on your craft, like to provide the best advice as possible. So all right, let's go to the question. Auntie Mama, why did you rush in at the finish line? You like a blur? Yeah. So I rushed in, Auntie Mama, because I really want to do under 100 hour. And for me, below 100 hour at Cocodona is the equivalent of a sub 24 for 100 mile, or the equivalent of a sub 3 hour for a marathon. Like it's an arbitrary goal that for me kind of mattered and showed that I had a good race. And my math was just wrong. I didn't know exactly how many mileage was left, but I thought I had a little bit more than that. And because of that, like, I felt like I can't go under 100 hour, but I gotta be fast. And then, when I was close to the finish line and I realized that, like I still have like 30 minutes. I mean, I'm running, so I'm gonna continue running. Like, it's fine. Like, I'll be done with it. But that was why. Like, there's no reason. And like, it was like I was running like that for the miles before the last 5 miles, but for the last 5 miles that was my pace. I don't do it for the camera also, like some people will do that when the camera is like shooting. Usually I really don't care about that, but in this case I cared about the finishing time. And the only time that it happened to me like that was Zion 100 mile in 2023 or 2023, where I was like within like a few minutes of doing a sub 24. I was with Nora, and then I told Nora, we gotta run, like we don't have time, like we're gonna go like at 7-minute mile, like we gotta run, and then like going, and just finding this energy that you're like, where was this energy before? I don't know where it was, but like finding that motivation was great. And that's probably how pros feel, that they're able to push to their limit, because obviously that energy was there, but before realizing I was so close to the goal, I was just walking and just like being a little bitch and like complaining all the time. So Richard is saying, hi Simon, late but nice to shake your hand at Canon check-in. Yeah, well, yeah, okay, so at Canyon 100 mile, and the movie will be coming up after this one, but yeah, I mean, always happy to meet people. I was quick at the end, yes, and I said I would be there at like 8:59, but I totally mislead you guys. I'm sorry about that. What I'm gonna try is to find the live chat replay to be able to say hi to people that said hi and respond to these questions. First, India Trail, do you have any tips for me? Thanks. Yeah, Adam, if your first 100 mile is in October, what I would say is try to take the first 50k plan that I did, of course, is for a 50k, but the mindset is very similar, where like, look, have to back-to-back long run in your training, aim for a 60 to 70 miles a week that you build up gradually, have some strength session once or twice a week, speed session once or twice a week, back-to-back long run in the weekend, include at least 1 day of rest in your week, and prepare other things like having the right gear, being able to fuel properly will be pretty important. Run on similar trail. I'm not familiar with the Indiana Trail 100. I have heard of it, but I don't know how the trail looks. If it's technical, practice technical trail. If there's a lot of uphill, practice uphill. When you're racing, go slower than you think, and work on your mind game, where like have a clear goal and stick to it. Adapt if you need to, but like just don't give up. I know you can do it, and you have a lot of time to prepare for it, so just come in prepared. It's better to be prepared and uninjured than to train and injured, so watch out for that. Great recaps just after the race, having a fresh memory. Yeah, exactly, Carmen. That's why I'm doing that, so thanks for being here, and sorry about the deal at night. I'm happy that you had a good time there, but it did sound like it sucked. Heart Rock, really enjoyed this format. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate connecting. That's why I did the live premiere for the movies in general, and I think this is a little bit more interactive. Thanks, Michelle. Really appreciate that. I think we met, I think, at the race, right at the start, I think, of the race. Let's call it 260. Yeah, Kimberly, a lot of race, they should call it like it's 103 and not 100, but I'm gonna live with it and live with the frustration. I think my watch was saying 266 at the end of the race, for whatever it's worth. I'm used to it. If anything, like I prefer that my watch says a higher mileage than under the mileage. Like I've had 100 miles where my watch is ending at 97, and it's extremely frustrating because you're like, did I really run 100 mile? I would go 3 more miles if I have to, but that's life. All right. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate that you appreciate the format, and yeah, I work hard on the Cocodona. I know a lot of people want to see that, and personally, I really want to recap it because it was a great experience. Favorite piece of gear? I mean, honestly, there's so much of it. I think good poles are super important. Good headlamp, reliable headlamp, super important. You can't race a race without a reliable one. All right. Section before Trinity Height. Which one is that? Oh, so Ian, so the section before Trinity Height, that's Mount Eldon, and that's between Wildcat and Trinity Height. So you go up Eldon, and it's a different direction than the last few years. I'm not sure. I think I prefer the way we went up than usually we went up the very steep part and then kind of came down on the road, and it was a little bit boring and confusing. So I appreciate the way we were coming up. It was non-stop, and I know some people did it during the day, and it was hot and you're very exposed, so you're going to be very dehydrated. So that's something that you keep in mind. But personally, I really like that, like you just had to keep grinding, and I like that we were on the ridge and we had this gorgeous view. And for me, that was also one of the highlights, was just to be on that ridge and be like, like I'm done with the difficult part. But then you had to go down on the steep part, which then it's like, oh, actually I still have one part that is annoying, and that was annoying, the downhill. So I was not a big fan of that one. I think if they brought us down like the road where it was before, maybe I would be a little happier about that. But I like the new direction of going up. But I did miss Pete's Meat at the top. Like there were no aid station at the top of Eldon, which that was like such a cool aid station before. Now the Pete's Meat was at Wildcat, so it was still there, but it used to feel like I just did I did the race now. I just have to walk down the mountain, and I have this cool aid station first. So that was special before. It's still special, but it felt a little bit different. Just enough for a mile, the never-ending maze. I'm confused for Ian. The last 4 miles. If you mean the last 4 miles of the race itself, between Trinity Height and the finish line, I barely remember because I was running like a maniac. I never got lost there though, because I was always watching my watch, because I was actually worried. It's true that there were so many intersections that I relied more on my watch than on the markers themselves. But like I was watching and I was like, okay, I gotta go straight. Oh, okay, I gotta turn left. So I was never confused, and it was not very technical. There were a few rolling hills, but it was actually runnable even after 250 miles apparently. So yeah, but last segment like that always feels like I just want to be done. Like there's the finish line is nice, but everything else is just like, can we just be done? All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining. Really appreciate that. We're gonna work on the format, but that's probably gonna be something that I'll be doing in the future for basically every race. It's like the Monday or Tuesday coming back from the race. I'm just gonna drop some of the footage. Hopefully I will solve that a little bit in chat. You ask about anything. You can even ask things about like something that is not necessarily related to the race. Even if the format is working great, like eventually I could do that also related to some of the tip video, which help you ask questions a little bit more directly instead of directly in the comments, which I do take the time to answer because I really like the interaction with you guys. So thanks for joining. I was happy that Nora could be there, and I'm going to try to figure out how to stop that because it's the first time I stopped a live feed. But it was great having you guys here, and take care, everyone.